Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Console Overwatch multi-tier tournament. My name is Bullskunk alongside ChefBilly, and we are here with the grand finals in the NA region for the Tier 3 division. You have got Apollo taking on Guardians to see who will take the crown of Tier 3 here in the multi-tier tournament.
Boy, are we hyped for this one. We have been sitting on pins and needles here for about the past hour. We just cannot contain our excitement. Two of our legacy orgs making it all the way to the grand final. You guys know them. We know them. Everybody knows everybody here. It's a pretty strong, tight-knit community in Tier 3. Lots of rivalries, lots of competitiveness, lots of friendships also in this division and in this tier. And I couldn't be happier than casting this night with you, Bullskunk.
There's no other place I would rather be, Billy. This is, I'm so hyped for this, just grinning ear to ear. And I gotta say, the hype building up to this match has been absolutely palpable. Apollo winning the internet, I'd say, with that tweet that we saw from them earlier. I just gotta give a little tip of the hat to that. That was fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Apollo Avengers versus Thanos featuring Hairball. That's pretty damn good. And I mean, even the respect shown still, I mean, come on. It's hilarious. It's in good fun. It's in good nature. And I thought it was one of the best tweets of the year from the CGL from one of the orgs.
It absolutely was. Hairball playing with Infinity Stones for buttons on his Xbox controller here tonight. Oh, but with that aside, we'll take a quick look at the playoff bracket just to see how these two teams got here. Coming from separate divisions, of course, Tier 3 divided into Division A and Division B. That's what you're seeing at the top and bottom of this bracket. So these two teams have not faced each other yet here in the tournament. As much like you might see in football with NFC and AFC, those teams don't play until the very end. You get down to our grand finals, which is what we've got here today. Guardians coming off of that tight 7-map thriller against Bronwyn there in the division finals.
Indeed, and Rugby and company from Apollo had a bit of an easier way to get here. Through unfortunate circumstances, Twilight was not able to compete on the day that they were supposed to compete, so they ended up getting a free pass into the grand finals. However, I don't think that takes any less of the accomplishments from them coming through this year. I think it would have been a close match, probably another 7-match series had it gone on with Twilight. But I think that you give a little bit of edge just because of the battle readiness of Guardians right now, as they did go through that major litmus test that was OFA Bronwyn.
Yeah, Guardians going 8-1, I believe, was their final tally there at the end of the year. That put them in the 3rd seed, only dropping 1 map for the entirety of the regular season. Apollo fought a little bit harder to get there, coming through as your 6th seed and battling their way through to the finals, but they were still just 7-2. I mean, 30-7 map record, a fantastic showing. That was an extremely tight division there in Division 1. So don't let that 6th seed marker fool you into thinking that Apollo is any less up to the task here in our grand finals.
Indeed, and as we covered the quarterfinal, their play-in game. I'm sorry, the game that would have gotten them into the playoffs. We were all on pins and needles. We were dying watching it happen, as they just battled. It came down to the last map, and one of the biggest fights of the season. Still one of our top fights of the season. That last clash in Rialto, and man, they've come a long way, and here we are now. Grand final night for Tier 3 as we go to Busan first. Interesting choice here in the map, Bullskunk, going to Busan.
Agreed, but honestly not too surprising. I think Bronwyn got actually the first map pick when they faced off in the division finals, and they chose Busan, but Guardians looked really strong on this map, so it doesn't shock me that they're taking us back to South Korea for our opening map.
Indeed, and I mean, as we go through what the map types are going to be here, you're always going to start out in control, and the top seed gets to pick. And then as we go through the other map types, it will be loser picks the map, and the team that won the previous map will go ahead and choose whether they want to be on attack or defense. Of course, if we go to the map 5 in this, it will just be a control map again, and then we can alternate between hybrid and control after that.
It's hybrid escort control, actually, just to
hybrid
clarify.
Control.
Yep. Yeah, so map 5 to 8. Yeah, this is, of course, a first to 4. So we're going to at least 4 maps. We're prepared to go to 8, 9, however many it takes. Man, I hope we get to see an 8-map series. How thrilling would that be here, Billy?
How fantastic would that be? And it would be a fitting end to the dogfight that was Tier 3 all season long.
It has been an amazing ride. I cannot believe we're here in the finale. I mean, dozens and dozens of teams in the Tier 3 seed had to be split into 2 separate divisions, and it's all come down to this.
Well, how about we stop talking and get into the action, Bullskunk?
I think that is a fantastic plan.
Let us go to Busan, ladies and gentlemen, out there watching us on Twitch here on Bullskunk's channel. And let me tell you, all of us here and on the stream team for this season have put in a lot of hard work and dedication to the season. I want to thank all the people from CGL that gave us a chance to bring you all of this fantastic coverage. A lot of it has been here on Bullskunk's channel, and he is over the moon with all the follows and all the fans and stuff that are out there of our work. And we just want to say before this all goes down, we love you guys.
Absolutely.
There's nothing more to say.
Overwhelming amount of support from this community. Been a heck of a year. Let's cap it off right here as we get underway. Start off in Mecha Base with Apollo in the blue jerseys, appropriately enough. Hairball and company. Guardians in the red.
Here we go, Bullskunk. Tier 3 Grand Final. I am hyped.
Let's get into it. Apollo coming out with the Reinhardt Zarya. No big surprise. Actually, ride Zarya from both sides. Apollo showed us the Mei and the Torbjorn with Guardians coming out. Hairball and the Reaper. Typical space picking up the Ashe. 2 staple heroes for these DPS duo.
I mean, this almost looks like the beginning or the end fight sequence scene from Avengers. Not too good. Play the again, but it's blue on red. It'll just look fantastic. Nice aggression coming here from both, and Hairball gets first kill, followed by typical space. This is going to be a wipe for the Guardians here, as they went ahead and got a lot more sustain going through their attack there, and they end up taking the first control here in Mecha Base, Bullskunk.
Very aggressive posturing as well. And it served Guardians very, very well indeed. I like Sleepy's aggression on the Lucio, getting a lot of work done. And already, 14% on the board. Looks like Apollo just pathing up through the left side from the attacker's point of view. Guardians there to rotate and match. Wall put up to block hard line for the rest of his team, and they find that kill. Reinhardt down for Guardians, and Apollo going to use the Coalescence to press the assault, try to get onto this objective, see if they can flip this thing back over. Chwera comes up with a good kill. Hydra finding one on the Moira as well, and Apollo flipping this point. Already we have a back-and-forth slugfest. We're just getting started, Billy.
Indeed, and I think that Atror deciding to ditch the Torbjorn and bring out a Reaper of their own was the right choice there, as we have almost complete mirror matches here. Dexity and Typical Space trading out on each other. Typical Space is going to have Bob available to try and start this recontest at the point, as well as a Coalescence from Heal 2.
And since they have control, I think Apollo's Mei is going to prove the more valuable DPS here. We'll see how the walls are used. So far, looking beautiful. As only half of Guardians makes it through. We had Gal throw it down. His Earth Shatter found nothing but a shield. And now Hardline going to charge, put the aggression down. Bubble used, trying to keep him alive. The Sound Barrier thrown in from Apollo as they try to focus Hardline down. He just will not die. In fact, it is Guile falling. Here comes the big Death Blossom. 4K Death Blossom. Hairball snapped his fingers and half of Apollo disappeared.
You were supposed to leave that for me!
What?
No, but he snaps his finger and poof, be gone, you Apollo widgets. And here we go. So point flip back over, pretty much even right now in the ultimate economy, in the progress, and now they're just going to go ahead and get back onto the point here.
Blizzard used from Duxity to start off this next assault. Graviton Surge misses from Uvial. A rare mistake from that off-tank player. Immediately 2 kills lighting up the feed for Apollo. Atrora keeping the pressure on. Death Blossom in his pocket. Not even going to need it to get this point flipped back over for Apollo Tier 3.
Oh my goodness, that was steady aggression, and the Blizzard was the catalyst to take that point back over. They did get another 27% on the progress meter, but looking at Death Blossom and Earth Shatter online for Apollo, nothing in the tank right now for the side from Guardians, and this is going to have to be a very cleverly fought point here to try and flip it back over.
Guardians rushing through the pit. and getting right onto the objective and flip the point for free. Apollo fails to contest. They throw the Earthshatter out. That is going to be huge. A Troller drops a 2-man Death Blossom into the mix. Coalescence invested from Apollo as well, and they will eventually get it back, but all the while, Guardians getting that free percentage.
Yeah, they got about 15 extra percent, so you've got to think that's a failure to recognize the positioning and the rotation coming out of Guardians. Caught them with their pants down. There's no other way to put it, Bullskunk.
Absolutely, and now Guardians have flipped the ult economy on their head, investing Bob out early as he comes running out of the hallway. Apollo, they're just going to kite back. Almost everybody gets out of the way of the Earth Shatter, but the sound barrier used from Firmuno going to keep everybody topped off for the meantime, but Guile does eventually fall to the weight of Hardline's hammer. Duck City throwing in his second Blizzard. Wraithform there. Bubbles used beautifully. A typical space. The only one caught. Frozen as kills are traded out. And it is a 2v2, 3v2 on the point. Make that a 3v1. Apollo looks like they may hold on here as the overtime wick starts to burn down.
Indeed, and that is 1-0 to Apollo right now. I mean, it's a lot closer than it would have been had they recognized the rotation that came underneath from the Guardians. But I mean, still good awareness from Guardians to be aware of that. Still, Ultimate Economy got flipped very quickly. That sound barrier from Firmuno keeping the team up in the middle of a Shatter and Coalescence. I think that was the breaking point there for this map. As we head to downtown now, I want to see if we're going to see some echo play. We know that Otroer has been very gifted on this hero as we've seen them go through the season and into the playoffs. I have not seen anything like a Pharah, an Echo. We haven't seen Junkrat come out. And I'm just wondering, will the Ryan v Diva and the Ryan v Zarya battle live up to its billing?
And I imagine we'll see all of those heroes in time. You're listing heroes that are very common for both of these two teams. Early start for Guile with a big charge. Takes the Mei out of the battle. Apollo looking strong, though. Guardians have the positional advantage and just have to defend the point. Wall splits off Hardline from the rest of his team, and he gets burned down. Wonderful focus fire from Apollo, and the oppression coming through in spades as they get the first control started here on downtown.
And, you know, they did a quick little reset, like a soft reset around the right-hand corner of theirs from their point coming in. And, you know, they got the wall up from Duck City, and then they just went ahead and deleted Hardline Chart, and it was game over from there. Massive ult differential right now in favor of Apollo.
Yeah, Guardians, they do have a Pulse Bomb here. Could be a nice early opener if typical space can find the room to work. Coalescence used early from Apollo. We're going to get the rally out as well. Pulse Bomb into the mix. It hits the Diva, though, with 600 health pool. Diva not completely phased, especially standing in the middle of that Coalescence. Now we're going to get a Coalescence out from Guardians as they try to push onto the objective. Maywall used as well as a Graviton Surge. The Counter Shatter tries to come out, but it gets blocked. But Blizzard's out from both teams, and it's just going to freeze everybody in their tracks for the meantime. Guardians find themselves on the outside of Apollo's Blizzard, able to get those kills.
I mean, there was a little bit of an unfortunate boop coming out of Firmuno, or a little shield bash, and knocked out of the Blizzard, and Hardline Chart was able to start swinging and started deleting people left and right. The bubbles being used very nicely from Uvial Althar on this Zarya. We've seen him and called their name very often, as we know that they are very accomplished on this Russian hero.
Absolutely. Uvial, one of the premier off tanks in the division, I would say. Coalescence from Apollo as they fall off the balcony. Looking to see if they can retake this point. 23% on the board for Guardians as they kite back onto the objective. Diva Bomb thrown in from Apollo. That picks off the Moira. Oh my goodness. Primary source of healing gone. Now Jexy follows it up with a good kill on a Baptiste. Manages to find both supports, and the rest of the team just moves in, cleans house here on the point.
My goodness, that was measured aggression. What a great positioning of that self-destruct from Jexy, going over the top of the high ground there and dropping right into the back and taking out heals who had no way to get out.
We do have both Tank Ultimate and a Coalescence online for Guardians as they make their way back to the center of downtown. Taking the scenic route, going around the long way, looking for a little extra cover as they make their approach. Looks like they're going to go up to the high ground. Nope, just dropping right back down. A little feign. Oh, but the Reinhardt caught off, at least momentarily. A counter wall comes out, and Guile now the one looking to be in trouble. He gets frozen. He gets earth shattered. Coalescence out from Guardians, and 2 kills lighten up the feed. This is all Guardians here on this assault, controlling the tempo here on downtown, at least for that engagement.
I mean, if Fear Moon O popped the rally, I don't know if that's going to be to change heroes there, or maybe trying to make sure that they got to 99% on the capture, as they are on map point here. Looking at Guile, he's got Shatter almost online. We're looking at the DPS ults from Guardians. They're going to have both of them on line very shortly.
Yeah, to keep it a sharp eye on Jaxie, see if they can eat that Blizzard. That is going to be the one that Apollo needs to watch out for. Indeed, Jaxie does! Gobbles up the Blizzard. It is gone. Dexity's the only one out there making snow cones of Guardians now, and Apollo just relishing in the refreshment of these Guardian snow clones as the Overtime Wick starts to burn. Apollo taking our opening map here in the Grand Finals.
Guardian snow cones, huh?
That's where
we're going with. Okay, I like it. I love it. I mean, that was back and forth for both those maps, though, Bullskunk. I think that we are going to be in for a barn burner tonight.
This is going to be a treat.
We really don't take much stock into control maps, as it is its own animal. We like to see when you get into more of the team-based and strategy-based maps here in the Overwatch realm, and I'm very interested to see where Hairball is going to want to go next.
Yeah, I'm both fold. Control maps definitely their own monster, not necessarily indicative that Apollo's going to run away with this map or anything. Though that was a very clean control map for Apollo. Still, Guardians, I mean, retaking the point on quite a few occasions, winning their fair share of engagements there. And we're headed to Hybrid next. Your options are, was it Kings Row, Hollywood, Eichenwald, of course.
Yep.
Three of my favorites.
Where do you think we're going? That's my question to you, Bullskunk.
I think they need to find some long range here for typical space and Hairball to work. I'm honestly guessing Kings Row.
You are correct in that. We're going to have a substitute coming in for the Guardians in the support line. Sleepy's Mouse is going to go ahead and come out, and Austin Trox is going to come in. If he would be in the lobby, which I don't see him in there, I'll ask Hairball about that.
Details. They don't necessarily have to be in the lobby to play, do they? Like that. You're just being too picky here, Billy. Too picky.
Kind of important. I'm just going to put that out there. Kind of important.
But as we head to Kings Row, I mean, we've seen a lot of Ryan Zarya from Guardians throughout this tournament, and I think this is a good fit for them. They may have the advantage here. We'll see if Apollo chooses to come out with the double shield, and I think that'll be indicative if Rugby comes into the battle. If we see Rugby come in, I think Apollo is going to be working the double shield here.
Yeah, indeed. I think that we've seen a lot of double shield coming out of Apollo throughout their run here. So I'm expecting Guile and maybe Rugby to come in here and really see what they bring up. We're not going to have any side swaps here, as Apollo wants to do the defending here first here at Kings Row, as I swap the maps over before I forget to do it, like I'm very accustomed to do when I get excited for these matches. Sometimes my excitement gets the better of me. But we're going to go ahead and go to Kings Row, and we're going to see if there's going to be any substitutions coming in from Apollo.
Well, and I think this is a good opportunity to discuss some of our starting lineups here as Guardians. Well, you got Hairball and Typical Space, your DPS duo. We've seen them all year. Dangerous duo. Hardline, your main tank for Guardians. Uvial, all-star off-tank there in that role. And then Heals Who and Austin Trox in the support line for Guardians here today. So far, Apollo showing us Duxity and a Trower in your DPS slot. No surprises there. A Trower, typically your hit scan kind of flex DPS player, and Duxity will pick up the hit scan, I believe. Or, well, we got Clarity coming in, the other piece of that pile, and definitely their hit scan player. Guile and Rugby is going to be coming in here for map 2. So Rugby coming in the tank role does indicate to me we're going to see some double shield. Rugby tends to come in and play the Orisa, and I imagine we're going to see Guile flip over to that Sigma role. And then Pheromone and Lucky, the support line up here for Apollo. Don't expect that to change. We may see some Hydra later on. I'm kind of curious on that in that one.
Hydra is actually in the last map. Lucky.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Is Hydra typically plays control? That's exactly what I was thinking here.
Indeed. So we've got Jexy out for Rugby, most ostensibly for the Orisa double shield configuration there.
Yep.
So let's see if we can get a ready up here from them and get into King's Row, as I'm very excited to get into this one and see where we go with this.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm expecting a Ryan Zarya versus double shield matchup, but you never know. You never know.
I mean, you never know. I mean, they've had, Rugby and company have had a little bit more time to prepare, but I mean, Guardians also showed up big on King's Row, I believe, when they chose it a couple of nights ago. All right, we do have the ready. Let's get into King's Row, Bullskunk.
I like it.
And we're gonna cruise to this as fast as we can. Oh man, because I don't like to make the people wait.
Nah.
Don't like to make the people wait.
I hear you, Billy. I think that's a valid concern, and I share your sentiment 100%.
Oh, but Apollo choosing defense first. What are your thoughts on that? I like it personally, but I want to hear what you got to say on it first.
I think it's a good response here on King's Row. Yeah, I think this map is, even as it is, I think still does favor defense ever so slightly. So with that, going on the defense first, you can put up a good hold. You know what to expect when you go on your attack, how to use your ultimates, how to plan your ultimates. So I think defending first is a good call from Apollo here, especially considering the compositions.
Right. I mean, looking at it, I mean, we know how nasty Guile can be on the Sigma. He is one of my favorite off tanks in the tier 3 ranks, and I mean, just his ability with the Halt Rock combos to gain so much ultimate charge from one single accretion disc is nothing short of miraculous, and the hypersphere accuracy coming from him, one of the better ones in the league. So we're gonna see we're gonna see the mirror comp at Hairball on the Bastion.
Yeah, we're looking for a little Sim Bastion strategy coming through here. Clarity finds first blood before the teleporter can even get set up. And this might be a little bit of a soft reset as Hardline is back in spawn. Gonna be tough to attack without your Orisa.
I don't know if they stick with it or if they go back to spawn and decide, you know what, we're going to go with a more traditional setup here. Yep, Hairball is going to go ahead and swap over to the Pharah. Typical Space is going to head over to the Cowboy. And I'm liking Lucky Dog on this Zenyatta. The Discord orbs are being followed up with a lot of focus fire, so we've got to watch out for that. But Heals Who is already getting some massive anti-nades in.
And Clarity, once again, picking people off. Fear Moon does go down, but Hardline falls to a big rock from Guile. Typical Space picks off a Trower. That's a 2-kill for Typical here in this fight. Make that 3 as he worked through Hotel and just mantled the back line of Apollo. So despite missing their Reinhardt, Guardians still able to push on to this objective and get some capture percentage started.
Never picked up the rotation from the Lone Cowboy in the back. Typical Space getting 55% of their ultimate in the beginning of this map. Clarity, not to be undone, is still trying to click heads from the top, and now there's going to be a long spawn walk for Clarity coming back in to contest here in the streets phase of King's Row. And you've got to look, ultimate charge right now. Heals Who does have that nano boost online ready to go. Next one close to that, Clarity with Bob. I'm looking forward to seeing how quickly Lucky Dog will get Transcendence up and available.
I would like to take a moment to mention the unusual pick that is your author's Roadhog. A Trower taking him down. He does get rezzed back up. A Trower finding both tanks, actually, making the Echo swap here. Duplicate online and ready to go. But UV author and the Hog, very interesting pick. In fact, a Trower's going to duplicate it, pull out a Hog of his own. All get slept before they can pop the extra whole Hog supplementary ultimate there. And looks like Apollo's just going to go ahead and yield the bookstore. Back out, see if they can find a better fight in the back of point B.
Yeah, and they're not picking up a typical space whatsoever on these weird flanks that they are taking. He has gotten into their back line twice now, uncontested, getting multiple kills both times.
Guardians coming up nearly with a 6-pack of ultimates. Ton of ultimates on the side of Apollo as well. 5 to use. Supercharger Bob to start things off from the defense. Bob immediately picking off the Mercy with that little bit of extra damage. Guardians just kiting back. Going to wait out the Butler. See if they can strike back, despite the fact that they're missing their Mercy. Amplification Matrix thrown up, but Guile's going to push through. Find himself a kill. Rugby getting into the mix as well. And a good hold here from Apollo.
I like the kite back that Apollo just did. They took their time. They took a breather real quick, rallied their forces together, and popped out 2 very well-timed, well-spaced ultimates, and got 4 people out of it into the mix.
Guardians very disciplined with their ultimates, though. Only use the sound barrier, or only use the amplification matrix, excuse me. And then also making that switch over to the Lucio. All their 5 ultimates still ready to go. Nothing really to combo with these dragons, but still could be, you know, worthwhile, let's say.
Indeed, 5-pack of ultimates ready to go, and you've got to watch out for this whole hog on the left-hand flank with Hairball also having dragons online.
Dragons just come out in time before a Troyer can pick them off. 2 kills on each side. Transcendence used. As soon as it fades, the Gravitic Flux comes through, but he gets stunned out of it. Guile cannot seem to finish the animation on that ultimate. Troyer's going to pick the McCree to duplicate. Might have been a little late on that one.
Maybe a little late, but you never know. I mean, he could, you know, get a couple shots here and pop a dead eye in the fastest of time, or maybe it was used because they were very low on health, and you just needed to duplicate and put the threat out there. Sometimes just the threat of the duplicated hero is what is required.
And, I mean, Apollo was down to 3 members, so just needed to make sure that they thwarted the assault. As Guardians come back in, throw up a wall, try to separate Rugby. It does split him off from the LOS of that Immortality field. Lucky Dog falls to a shot from Uvial, who's working around to that flank with the Hog. Whole Hog still ready to go. And Guardians put the pressure down. Guile falls, but Pheromone able to take out Hairball. It's a good kill as there's no more May, but now the Whole Hog coming out. Finds 2. And that's 2 very important picks. Follows it up with a nice shotgun kill onto a Troyer. 3K here for Uvial Author.
Indeed, 3 minutes going on to point C of King's Row here, and I mean, that's a good stall coming from Apollo, but really not as much as they probably could have had. If they really need to pick up these flanking heroes coming from Guardians. They just haven't done it yet. Either it's Uvial or it's a typical space. They're making life hell for Apollo right now.
Ooh, good halt into a Troyer, finishing off Uvial Author. And I wonder if you don't switch off the Hog at this point. It seems like Guardian's struggling to make space right now here on point C.
Indeed, and a Troyer has another duplicate online, putting in so much work on this Echo. We talked about it on the Gibraltar map the first time that we ever saw a Troyer really bring out the Echo, and if you remember, we got 3 duplicates in one fight, and I was very impressed by that.
Clarity throwing Bob into the mix, and the Butler doing work. A Troyer doesn't even have to use his duplicate this fight. Guardian struggling here with 2 minutes on the clock, definitely behind in the ult economy right now.
Indeed, and Uvial still sticking with this with the Roadhog right now. I think you need to swap either to a Zarya or maybe bring out a Sigma of your own for the stun ability of the accretion disc going in, and also, you know, maybe getting a Sigma 9 should you be able to get your ultimate up in time.
Typical space going to hop up in the window, put some pressure down on Clarity. Guile throwing the Gravitic Flux into the mix, but Sound Barrier and Coalescence used. Earthshatter comes out from a hard line. Don't think it found much, but Transcendence forced out on the other side. Make sure Apollo can stay in the fight. Oh, but as soon as it fades away, Lucky Dog goes down. Uvial pressing in, putting as much pressure down with this Hog as he can. Now Supercharger used from Apollo, and Fear Moon taking full advantage, finds 3 kills with the Baptiste, and Guardians packing.
Indeed, and also looking at it, you know, they use that and really amplifying the damage coming out, and a Troyer once again building up to another duplicate. I don't know who they duplicated in the middle of that map or in the middle of that fight, but Clarity gets another Bob as a result of that Supercharger. You've got to count that a win for Apollo as far as trying to defend here.
Now Guardians coming back in with that Blizzard. We'll see if Apollo's good luck continues here. The Blizzard takes out Pheromone, the Immortality Field. Not enough. Keep him alive. 2 more kills light up the feed. Bob from Typical Space doing his job and sweeping up the Foundry. Apollo may have a chance for a contester at the very end.
Indeed, and there's a big anti coming out from Lucky Dog. See if they can do anything to combo with it, or at least slow them down. Jexy swapping over, or Rugby swapping over to the Diva right now to contest stall characters in full effect here for Bullskunk.
Yeah, we had the Ant Matrix used as well. Unfortunately, that big anti from Lucky, he was too low and out by himself, was not able to stay alive. And without that sustain, the defense didn't really stand much of a chance, but they did whittle down that time bank to 4.4 seconds.
I really like that, they did get it in before the overtime period, so they're going to have a chance to come out and attack. Should Apollo be able to get all 3 points here, it's not going to be a lot of time, but it's still going to be a chance for them to fight back. Should Apollo go ahead and capture all 3 points here. Now, for Apollo, what I want to see from them coming out is the same kind of measured aggression that Guardians just showed us. The flanks, once again, is something that I'm going to point out. Apollo just did not seem to be catching the single rotating player, whether it was Uvial or whether it was Hairball or whether it was a Typical Space. Also, Hairball showing up big here in the grand finals on the biggest stage that we have for our sport in their respective tier, swapping 3 heroes in that map, and every time he got massive value out of it. So Hairball is ready to play and ready to fight for this championship, Bullskunk.
Yes, sir. Absolutely they are. Both teams want this bad. You can just see it in their faces. You can see it in their little digital faces here on screen. Look at how threatening Hairball's little icon is down to that bottom left-hand corner. I'm scared, Billy. I'm intimidated.
I'm scared. I don't have to level these people, so.
Coming out with the hog again on the defense. Speaking of Guardians. We're going to have the May and the Ash there. A Troller back on the Echo. As Apollo takes to the offense with the double shield composition. Clarity on the McCree as opposed to the Ash, which we might typically see, perhaps to help deal with a Hairball on the May, or even looking out for a Doomfist or something of the like. Apollo just approaching, kind of scouting out the defense, searching for weaknesses right now.
I like the little split defense that's being shown from the Guardians. Apollo's not sure where to aggress at.
Oh, and now Yuval looking to get aggressive, see if he can push out the hotel. He's going to test in the waters. He's going to drop back there. He finds Lucky Dog. He goes down, but Clarity answers right back. Healer missing from both sides. Clarity finding a pair of kills with the Peacekeeper. And Hairball on that May is a very important kill indeed. The Moira does get rezzed. Valkyrie popped from Austin Trox, but Clarity with the Deadeye online ready to go. With a little help from a Troller Sticky Bombs, they're able to finish off Uvial. And here comes that Deadeye. Can he get the Moth? He does! Picking Austin Trox out of their Valkyrie. They're going to take down Hardline Apollo. They're going to get this car out of the garage in no time.
I mean, once again, it's that little kite back that they do, just the kind of little mini soft reset that they do once somebody has been dropped. They'll take that couple steps back, take a breather, and then go back in with cooldowns renewed. And I really like the patience being shown by them right now. The snowball potential, by the way, is absolutely real, as Hardline Chart does not have that shatter available. A Trower has the ability to duplicate whomever they want.
Yeah, Gravitic Flux and coming up on both support ults for the attackers as well. But Uvial Author starts things off with a big pick. That is Hog's value right there, is winning those little duels, getting those early picks. Follows it up with a kill on Guile as well. So 2 men down for Apollo before they even make it through the point B arch here. Ooh, a huge hook onto Rugby. He's in trouble. Back to spawn goes Rugby. Duplicate did come out, and we have a digital Bob on the playing field, but doesn't last long as Apollo's going to reset.
I mean, you have to think that there was maybe a better option for the duplicate, or maybe holding it in your pocket once you lost Rugby. But man, once again, we've got this flanking situation going on from the off tank now from Guardians, and they haven't caught it out yet.
Gravitic Flux from Guile. start things off. Coalescence here from Guardians to answer back, and it puts the thrower out of the sky, and then a big shatter comes through. It's a 4-man shatter. Rugby able to fortify, but the rest of his team, well, they don't have that cooldown. They're not going to survive in the end. Neither does Rugby, as Guardians looking really strong here in front of the bookstore.
And, oh my goodness, what a shot from a typical space out of spawn.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a heck of a pick, further delaying this time.
Oh, man. So, looking at what we've got online, I mean, the ultimates all are even right now. Guile, not getting much usage out of that gravitic flux that he did last time. And now it looks like they're going to do give a little bit of medicine that they've been dealing right now in the flank swaps here.
Yeah, I think they recognize that Eagle's trying to work that angle, and they just all loop around Apollo. But they find a Blizzard in there. Supercharger used. Now a massive shatter. Hardline moves in and cleans house with the hammer. Just smashing Apollo to bits.
Gonga Death has been secured for me for this map. First one of the night, I believe, and right now they have run into a wall that is Hairball and Uvial Author on this Roadhog. The wall's absolutely bisecting them. They can't figure out which way to go, which way to turn. They've got to keep an eye on the back as well.
Good news for Apollo is they found the kill onto Hardline at the end of that devastating Earth Shatter and cleanup and bought them a lot of space in front of Bookstore. Now they're able to push up, drop an Amplification Matrix, throw some more damage down this street, find a little more space. Guardians used Bob in that, and a Thrower drops. But Lucky Dog and Guile striking right back. 1-man advantage for Apollo, the attacking team here in the streets phase. Coalescence throw it in from Guardians, but Apollo striking right back using the gravitic flux of their own. Oh, but in the middle, it's the tanks winning out in the shield war, running over Rugby and company. Guardians making a stand.
Yep, and there is what I was fearing and probably expecting to happen. There has been a compositional shift for the tanks as they go to a Rhine Zarya composition now. Rugby on the German Crusader, Guile going over to the fembot that is Zarya. And, wow, I mean, Atro's going to try and get really aggressive here. Duplicates into Reinhardt. Big wall coming out from Hairball.
Yeah, it might keep Achor from getting this Earth Shatter up. 8 seconds left. Nope, there's one Shatter down. That finds Hairball. Nope, no more Blizzard for you. Now, the res, can he deny the res? Oh, the res just barely comes through. Heals who? Actually getting the final pick as a Thrower bit off a little bit more than he can chew there in the very back of Guardian's ranks. Now Guardian's going to get aggressive, throw the wall up, and try to see if they can burn down these tanks. Hairball finds the kill onto Clarity. But, oh, Hardline in a bad spot. Threw himself way too far in. Rugby happy to charge him, burn him down. Way too deep to find that res. Valk coming out from the defense, and Guardians investing the Blizzard as well. That's going to find Guile, force Rugby into an awkward position, who's now sitting at minimal health and forced to run back to his team.
And gets killed in the interim, and Austin Trucks is providing a lot of value on this Mercy, getting many good reses throughout these mid-fights. And, I mean, Clarity has had this Deadeye online for about a minute and a half now and has not been able to pull the trigger. A Thrower, one of them is going to have to change to a Mei because the Mei is absolutely destroying them right now.
Yeah, the counter, I think, is exactly what is needed. Dueling Coalescence over the objective. Mei forced to Ice Block up. Earth Shatter coming through from a hard line, but finds nothing but a Thrower. Now the return Shatter. That's going to get 3. Rugby's going to charge, get aggressive on the back of it. Pray that his team is there to back him up. Sound Barrier used to keep Apollo in this aggressive posture, trying to burn down a hard line, and they will find the Reinhardt kill. With the overtime wick a burden, it's full speed ahead, but Apollo, they're still in a little bit of hot water here, Billy.
And now, Uvial caught behind enemy lines, and they finally are doing something to deal with the flanking situation that is Uvial Author. And now, they're already well into their time. Minute 17 left on the clock to get this payload around the corner and down to this final resting place. Otherwise, it's going to be a tie match here.
Whole Hog, Bob online for the defense. $1:05 on the clock. Big charge, counter charge from Rugby. He's got a wall at his back, can't run backwards, so here comes the Graviton Surge. Apollo's got to push forward instead. Guile finds a pair of kills. Bob coming out from the defense, but it's not enough to keep Hairball in this match. He was 78% to that Blizzard. That Blizzard could be absolutely game-winning. What a huge pick. Uviel trying to be the hero, but he's alone in the back line. Gets picked off. The front line of Apollo up here trying to create as much space as they can. 38 seconds on the clock. We're looking at final fight territory here, Billy. Coalescence out from Apollo as they look to push this thing home.
Schroer duplicates into the Reinhardt again. Going to get a shatter up pretty quickly. This could spell lights out, especially as Uviel Author has the Blizzard, or has the Whole Hog online. They're going to push this through with about 18 seconds, maybe.
Ooh, Hairball with a massive Blizzard stolen out. Oh, a typical space. Cannot quite touch in time. The cart does make it home. But, man, these clocks couldn't be any tighter. They couldn't be any closer.
I mean, 12 seconds, that's what, half of a push, maybe coming out walking from spawn if you happen to go down. And it looks like that Apollo does come out with the bigger time bank only by 12 seconds, so they're going to be on the defense first here. And this is a very real situation where it could be either drawn, or if the composition that comes out from either attack gets any kind of progress onto this point here, it might be lights out for the other team.
Agreed. This is all going to come down to first point. If a team can get a first point hold, or the team that does get the first point hold, let me rephrase that, will take King's Row. Now, will Apollo go up 2-0, give themselves a sizable lead, or can Guardians tie us up, send us into our assault round 1-1?
I'm liking what we're seeing on the defense here. Lucky Dog took a second to decide what kind of healer core they were actually going to present to us, and Bap Brigitte seems to be the flavor of the day. And I think that if Hairball is going to try his Edgelord heroics, he's going to have at least 2 CC abilities going into his face, and a turret as well once he decides to Wraith.
Using that Reaper, Hairball is going to try to flank around through Hotel. At least that's what he was kind of eyeballing. Decides to go right up the gut, put some pressure onto Rugby. Rejoin hardline on the Reinhardt. Getting aggressive immediately, and Hairball pays for it. Clarity picking it right up. The Edgelord sent back to spawn. First thing on Guardian's attacker in the extra innings. 30 seconds on the clock. Every kill super important from here on in, including that kill onto Hairball.
Yeah, and I think that this pick from Matroer with the Torbjorn and the turret really negating what a typical space is trying to do up there. He is so low. Finally gets a healing orb sent his way, but he was about 30 health.
Coalescence from the front, and Guardian sending Uviel through Hotel to flank around. 2 kills come through. Hairball getting into the mix on that as well with Rugby gone. Well, we're going to get that 4th point on the board here for Guardians.
What a fantastic push. They really waited for cooldowns to come out of Apollo there, and Guardians knew exactly when to push forward, and Rugby going down in the beginning of the fight, that is all she wrote. Lucky Dog not being able to throw out the immortality barrier fast enough to save himself and his team. And, Hardline has a shatter online already. Matroer, the Molten Core may be the ticket to their salvation and stopping this point from progressing any further.
Yeah, Gravitic Flux coming up online, too. Those two combined make for an incredibly deadly combo, slamming them down into the fire. We'll see how Apollo chooses to use their bank of ultimates. Ant Matrix, Molten Core, both coming out simultaneously. Oh, does that double the damage of the Molten Core? Ooh, interesting question. But nobody from Guardians there to stand around. They're not waiting around to find out. Earth Shatter comes through. That lays out Guardians. What a big shatter. Overtime Wick goes away so fast. And that's as far as Guardians will go, but respectable distance here, considering they only had 60 seconds.
And now let's see what Apollo can do. Getting it that far just with a minute in the time bank, yeah, you got to really applaud the persistence and the patience. Being able to kite back for even 5 seconds with a 1-minute time bank, it seems like forever, but their patience really paid dividends to them, and they get 51.26 meters into point B of King's Row, so that is the benchmark that Apollo have set for themselves now.
Payload sits just in front of bookstore. Seems simple enough, but thinking back to Apollo's attack round, they really struggled to push through this this point B archway.
Indeed, they did. Now, and it was because of the flanking heroes that were shown. a typical space and uveal author respectively, with some high ground flanks and also hiding in the archway. I brought it up in my Get Good broadcast today that we call that the archway defense, and Necro thought that was extremely hilarious. I said, throw a Maywall up there, and they can't get through it, even with the payload pushing. You're still going to have walls and shields to contend with there as well. So, should they be able to get through there, the only shielding available really is hardline charts. I'm scared for the lack of shielding here.
Guardians seem to make this hog work time and time again. We'll see if they can pull through on this defense, as they desperately need to tie up this match lest they fall 2-0 here in our grand finals. We're getting mirror DPS, but vastly different tank lines. Rugby throwing an aggressive shield up, right up the gut, wanting to keep the pressure on, not wasting any time putting pressure down on this defense. But a big flank from our line as it goes around into the back. Gutsy move, does eat a shield bash from Pheromone and is forced back. Meanwhile, the front line of Apollo looking to keep the pressure on the other side of Hotel. This could be a dangerous spot. Oh, the Guardians make it work. They're able to frag out, find 2 kills from inside Hotel. Hardline does go down, so an opportunity for a push if Apollo can regain their reinforcements here, but this is starting to look a little grim, Billy.
It's looking very grim, and 15 seconds left on the clock. They do have the closer spawn, though. Hairball is going to take a second to get back, as well as the Reinhardt. He's right at the arch right now as we speak. 7 seconds, Guile's going to have to go over to the ball to try and contest and get the overtime wick burning.
Guile touches, starts the overtime. Nice halt into the bash. Coalescence out from the defense. Earthshatter comes out. That's going to find 2. Fortify will keep Rugby up. See if he can keep shooting through the 5. The Amp Matrix, not going to be enough, I don't think. Clarity does find 1. Troyer duplicating over to the Reinhardt, but does not have enough in the bank to get up that Earthshatter. Now just going to fly in, but no, it's typical space on the McCree. Big 3K to shut down Apollo and get Guardians this map point. We are all tied up.
Indeed, we are, and I mean, this was the map choice of Hairball and Guardians and company. And they picked right. I think that I agree with what Apollo did there in choosing the defense first. I just think that this Roadhog player right now in Uveal Author is something that they do not have a clue how to deal with right now.
I mean, that's one of those things where on paper it doesn't seem like it should work, but Uveal absolutely gets good value out of that hog, finds the frags, finds the off angles, able to put pressure down a lot like a Sigma would, and doesn't require as much resources. So, I mean, if Guardians can make it work, I mean, who am I to judge? Who am I to judge, Billy?
I can't judge either, and I thought that Clarity getting that Deadeye in the middle of the mid-fight there in the overtime, I thought that was going to turn it around.
Right.
But you still managed to forget about the Moth, and the Moth with the res brings back that player that you worked so hard to take down. I think that just took the wind out of their sails. Once they saw the res go up, there was nothing they could really do after that point.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here. Y'all go get some water, rehydrate yourselves. We'll see you back here on Assault in just a few moments. Welcome back, my friends, to the Console Overwatch Multi-Tier Tournament. We are here in map number 3. Apollo have chosen Hanamura as the map to bounce back, see if they can regain the lead here. Billy, sounded like we had a sub coming in as we head into our third map.
We do. Clarity is coming back in the DPS role for Duck City. And I wanted to point out there, Vinny got his win.
Vinny got his win in Tier 6.
Vinny got his win in Tier 6. He finally got that monkey off of his back. And that is something that we've been kind of wanting and waiting to see here. As, it's been a long time coming for.
Yeah, that's what I heard, is it took less than an hour is what Chat was saying for that match. Oh, Gino! Sorry for the interruption. Gino just coming through with 25 gifted subs. Absolutely massive, Gino. Thank you so much. Thank you oh so much. Big console love. Huge. Oh. Yeah, the Roadhog absolutely viable here. Somehow it is working. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think that is very apropos. I mean, that's. We'll see if they keep it going. I mean, we'll see if they keep this strange composition going here.
Traveling to Hanamura.
Not my favorite assault map for sure. For sure.
Initiating match.
I mean, it's just so pretty. Like, how can you not love the cherry blossoms that is Hanamura? Oh, no worries. We need a sub. Is Duxity should be in? Indeed. Clarity was it on that last map. We'll get Duxity in here for map number 3. See if that DPS swap can be the difference maker here for Apollo. Hey, it's okay. I'm having my map pool screen apparently broke, so y'all are get to see my pretty map pool screen. I'm a little disappointed. I've been sitting here trying to fix it. It just fell apart under my fingertips. So I mean, that's unfortunate. Oh, you gotta love it.
Okay, are you ready to go, Mr. Bullskunk?
I am ready. Let's get into this thing.
All right, take 2. Let's go.
Take 2.
They said they can't hear me, by the way.
I got you fixed. It's just gonna take a minute to update. Like I said, my slobs broke underneath me, and I was a little freaked out. It's the first time slobs has ever just like literally fallen apart while I'm using it. So I was trying to make sure we didn't totally fall apart.
We've been working so much it finally fell apart.
I'm working slobs to the core here, friends. Oh, my apologies, Billy. We missed some of that expert analysis, but I'm telling you, Billy was throwing y'all the wisdom. Missed out. Okay. We did swap sides. Guardians in the blue jerseys taking up the defensive mantle here, bringing us the Rhine Zarya once again. We're going to have Ash and May to put the hurt down. Baptiste and Moira looks like to do the healing.
Bit of a interesting little composition coming from Apollo here. Duxity's going to show us the French assassin in Widowmaker. Maybe they're going to try to aggress them to the point and really deal with what's going on there, but I don't know if Guardians is going to be caught out by that.
Yeah, I love seeing the sim strategies on Hanamura. There's a couple of different places you can utilize, and I like to see if people try to get creative with it. Oh, and this is one of my favorites. Go up to the top right, drop down, try to put pressure on. Now, the question is, where's Duxity in all this? Okay, Duxity's taking position up in the window, trying to lay fire down from the front door. while the bulk of Apollo pushes in from the right-hand side from the attacker's point of view. Duck City already landing a couple shots, as you can see from that 53% ult charge. Troller burns hardline down. High priority kill for Apollo. And now they should be free to push in, but they're going to do it in a conservative fashion. A Troller burning down both supports while Duck City gets the pick from outside. A great assault to start things off on Hanamura.
Indeed, I mean, that was no time at all. Looks like they'll have about 5 minutes and 44 seconds. 5 minutes, 24 seconds as they start. No, 5:55. Sorry, my bad. I'm bad with the maths today. But looking at it, typical space, swapping over to the Widowmaker of their own to kind of challenge Duck City. Troll's going to have this photon barrier online in no time.
Teleporting across. Apollo just enters in from the left side. Catching Guardians a little bit off guard. It seems Uvial able to challenge Duck City, get the sniper off the battlefield. Now the off-tank free to turn their attention back to the front line. Apollo throwing their photon barrier over the objective. Oh, the tank line of Guardians, though, picking off the healers from Apollo. And that means there's no sustain. Back to the drawing board goes Apollo.
Indeed, and in the interim, Hairball gains Blizzard for the next defense and Shatter Coalescence to help repel the attackers. I don't know if a Troller stays with the Symmetric. Looks like they're going to. Gravitic Flux is online, as well as Amplification Matrix Rugby. And the Supercharger, I think, is going to be the deal maker here when they finally aggress onto the point.
Yeah, Troller is going to go ahead and make the swap to the Hanzo. Newly buffed Hanzo, might I add, with those extra 10 damage back into his Storm Arrows. Duck City back to the McCree, or over to the McCree, coming off of the Widowmaker. And Apollo looking to just push right-hand side. Are they going to go up the stairs? No, they're going to take up residence on the balcony. See if they can pick off the opponents. But Guardians have other plans. A typical space winning the duel with the Cowboy. Now Apollo forced to make that move up the stairs. They're going to have to be careful. They're running into Ant Matrix, and here comes the Flank Shatter. Flank Shatter finds two, and Apollo finding themselves in a very destructive sandwich here on Hanamura.
Indeed, and I mean, Guile, the Gravitic Flux was not really all that effective. I think you want to pull them off the high ground and then get them up in the air where you can actually throw some extra spam damage into them while they are suspended in their animation. But Rugby does end up getting the Supercharger, so I still think that this is going to be the fight turner here. They're going to have to watch out for Uvial, author of the self-destruct. They're going to have to demech the Korean fighter before they can have a chance to throw it out.
Absolutely. Blizzard available on top of that self-destruct for Guardians. So a couple of important ults they need to keep an eye out for. Blizzard thrown down. This pathing from Apollo, I think that was ill-advised. Everybody just standing there waiting the Blizzard. Now the self-destruct comes through. Hardline goes down, but gives his life in the process. And suddenly Uvial caught in a very difficult spot. Apollo collapsing over him. Austin trying to come in and be the hero, rescue their flex tank, rescue their off tank, but Austin falls. Great focus fire from Apollo here to start things off. But battling down here is not going to get him any point presence. And that respawn advantage is so strong for Guardians.
But now the real push comes in. Oceantrox goes down. Self-destruct not on the board right now. They're going to go ahead and pick up a tick here. Moving towards two. Dragon Strike comes out over the point. Charge takes down and takes off some members of Apollo on the point. Nice Gravitic Flux coming out, though. That is huge. Duxie taking out Airball.
Yeah, Airball picked off while in Flux. Doing the Sky Noon there. Now Hardline trying to stall out. Caught in a little bit of a weird spot. Managed to survive. Great play from the Guardian support line. Keeping Hardline in this fight for as long as they did. Allowed them to buy the time to get the kills. And they're going to thwart this offense, but not before Paulo gets a tick on the board.
Yep, 50% in fact towards the capture of Point B here in Hanamura. Of course, we all know the hell that it is trying to take Point B of Hanamura. You've got to have all of your ducks in a row. Duck City could be the pivotal part to this, getting another Dragon Strike quickly. I know I may be inadvertent.
Have all your Duck Cities in a row?
Get your Duck Cities in a row.
A Troller making a swap over to the Sombra here. I had gone to the Doomfist just to try to get back to the point quick. Now using the Somber, perhaps looking for a little extra hacks. Of course, the EMP could be a massive game turner here. Do they have enough time to build it up? Duck City finding first blood on this engagement. Takes Austin down, who was 74% to sound barrier. The rest of Guardians are going to flank back around. It's a 5-man shatter down in the hallway. A typical space, and Heals Who there to clean up. Coalescence invested from Guardians, and with a $1.15 left on the clock, Apollo back to spawn with no ultimates really to work with. Ah!
The shatter was real, but also in the middle of that, Hairball's pulse bomb did get eaten, and then Hairball gets ultimate revenge on a Trower.
Oh, poor Trower just ran right into that one.
You gotta be aware of your surroundings, even when you're invisible.
Oh, he just ran right into that one. That was something special. All right, I misspoke a little bit that Apollo doesn't have ults. They do have Ant Matrix. They do have Flux. So a couple to work with. The Flux in particular can be game-changing here. Ant Matrix to come out early, see if they can find a pick. They do. Storm arrows through that. 140 per shot. Hardline stands no chance. Duck City does go down. Invested sound barrier. Guardians, typical space. Also throwing out his tack visor, which picks up two. Follows up with a pair of kills. A big 4K for typical space here on the Soldier.
Indeed. Now you're going to have to look for a Trower to be able to get in there and make a touch. I don't know if that's going to happen as they have to go back to where they came from. Ooh, man, the translocation was real there. And, I mean, the overtime wick is going to start burning here, maybe?
There are already 2 ticks on the board. Guile was able to get the touch and start the overtime wake. Dragon's thrown in to try to clear the point. Achor invests the EMP, and 3 kills come through immediately. Duck City picking up a 4th, and that's going to... Oh, yeah, that's enough. That's enough. The last 2 members of Guardians were not on the point. I knew Uvial was still around. Somehow the Diva not contesting.
Well, Diva threw self-destruct in, and unfortunately threw it right into Rugby's bubble that he had on point. That would have taken out 4. And just an unfortunate spot to where Uvial also threw the mech, and they were able to go ahead and capture the full 2 points here for Hanamura. So, you know, now it's win condition to be set here as Apollo has gotten 2 points here. Guardians is going to have to gather 2 points, otherwise we're going to be back at a standstill here.
Well, good news for Guardians. If they can get that 2 points with more than a minute left in their time bank, then they've ensured at least a draw here on Hanamura. But that's going to be no small feat against this Apollo defense. Bringing us double shield. A Trower going over the Torbjorn.
Indeed. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic going on here. I like the defense that's going to be shown from a Trower here. He did really well on the Torbjorn in King's Row. And I think it's going to be able to stop any kind of a flank battle. I think they're still got that flank in their heads from King's Row. It's definitely a mental game right now, Bullskunk.
Agreed. And a Trower is setting up on the back left of the objective. I think we're looking out for the sim strats, and they would be betting correctly, as typical space is picking up the Symmetra. Looks like Guardian's just going to go up into this first window, immediately hunt down Duck City on the Ash. He was hiding up on the rooftop. Oh, but Duck City strikes right back, picks up Heals Who. No more sustain, or at least a lot of sustain eliminated for Guardians. As Apollo rotates back and are just happy to hang out on the objective, use this bell for cover. See if they can pick up the rotation against this Guardian's assault.
Indeed, you've got to look out for Uvial Author up here. Just unseen, uncontested. I'm assured that they don't know that they're there.
Yeah, the Diva's just hiding up on top of the point. Oh, they definitely don't see him. Fearmon just about ran into him. Oh, Uvial just waiting up into the trees like a hawk to pounce. Watching his prey as his front line tries to approach. Oh, I worry his prey might have just left his sights. Duck City picking off Hairball. And Uvial might just be watching his team die from afar. I think that's all he's going to accomplish from that perch as of right now.
Indeed. I mean, and only 25% to the self-destruct, so that's not even really worthy of anything. They've got to be thinking, where the hell is he?
He hasn't moved. He's still hiding in this same spot.
Oh, you've got to come in there and contest.
There you go.
He's like, oh, crap.
He finally jumps down, and Apollo, like, you can almost see the startle in their players. Oh, but in a bad spot, a Troller able to drop down his cooldown, take out that mech. The front line of Apollo cleaning up the rest.
I mean, that's just
Nasty stagger.
How do I even put it out?
I just caught in a weird spot. That was just ended up being a nasty stagger. Very fortunate for Apollo to recognize and pick that up.
Indeed, I mean, that was really good stuff there. I mean, it was just the best possible situation. And taking out the Diva that just stood back there and really did nothing, that really is going to hamper their aggression here onto the point.
2 kills coming through. Make that 3 for Guardians. They lose a typical space on the approach, but it's going to be a 5v3 on the objective, favoring the attackers. Rugby, super low and does not have anybody to keep him healed. Guile's going to be the next on the list to fall. Guardians will eventually pick up point A.
And I mean, the snowball potential is absolutely real. Hairball has the duplicate online. Uvial Author also has the self-destruct to really shatter the defenses that Apollo's going to be trying to throw up here. However, Transcendence and Bob available to counter this attack coming in.
Yeah, Supercharger available as well for Apollo, as they're going to take up the high ground here on the defense. Typical spot. Guardians just passing through their own high ground, and then they run into a supercharged Guile. Oh my goodness, that kill feed just lit up so fast. Bob thrown in there as well to help out.
Yeah, a little bit of overcommitment to the cause there, but I mean, they did what they needed to do there and got the kills as needed, and a late stagger kill onto Heals 2. 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the time bank, and only 2 ultimates used there from Apollo in their defense. It's going to be a bit of a time here for them to get in there and really decide, when to press the Y button, and how are they going to aggressively get back this top level defense that Apollo is fronting to them right now.
Oh, that's not going to be a good start. Typical space going in a little ahead of his team. Gets picked off. Watching Hairball, see if the duplicate is going to be the difference maker. Hardline trying to push up the stairs. But Guile doing such a good job of keeping the attackers in check on this stairwell. So far, not even feeling the need to invest the flux. Okay, right on cue. Out comes the ultimate. Oh, and they're all bunched up on the side of Guardians. That's going to be 4 picked up and slammed down. Austin Trucks forced to use his sound barrier to keep Guardians in this fight. Hardline drops his Earth Shatter. That finds Lucky Dog as Guardians go down the back stairwell. Transcendence used. Hairball's going to duplicate the Orisa on the objective, try to turn the tide. Trade's coming through. 2 kills for the defense, 2 kills for the offense. 4v4 on the objective. And now a Trower uses his duplicate to pull out the Reinhardt. 3-man shatter from the duplicated Reinhardt. Cleaning off the point. No progress picked up for Guardians.
Woo, that was a Y extravaganza if I've ever seen one. Lucky Dog really getting a great Transcendence usage out of that, denying the kill ability from the self-destruct. And you've got to think that was the push that they were really looking forward to. But 2 minutes still left on the clock. I think that they're going to have time to get their ult banks back up and maybe have another go at this.
Yeah, there's time for Guardians for sure. They don't have to start sweating just yet. But, I mean, I'm seeing a bit of an ult advantage here for Apollo. And if they can keep the rotation, this could be an uphill battle for Guardians. Quite literally, as they're going to go up the stairs towards the balcony right now.
You do have the Bob online that could really stall this out if they decide to throw it into the hallway.
Coalescence coming through from the attackers. Indeed, Bob coming out from Duxity, holding down the high ground. Amplification Matrix used from Apollo as well. Guardians found a couple of early picks, but now the feed all red. And the Pilot Diva. Oh no, the Pilot Diva. Uvial just wants to play the game. Don't let him get back in mech. Don't let... Oh, no.
Let's kill.
Oh, no. The Pilot does... Yeah, it gets a little bit of a melee kill there.
I mean, it was only to get the mech back, really. So, I mean, how much did it really do towards the ultimate charge? But, I mean, that took a full minute off of the time bank. 40 seconds left in the time bank. They do have Supercharger and Flux online. Transcendence almost available again for Lucky Dog. And really, the Shatter from Hardline is going to have to be the impetus for them to get here into the point.
And yeah, the ult deficit is very real for Guardian. Supercharger from Apollo to start things off. Gravitic Flux, that's going to find 4. Oh, and the health bars for Guardians just looking very abysmal right now. Hardline, a world of trouble. He eventually goes down, as is the clock, and the hopes of Guardians have taken this map.
Indeed, I mean, 0% garnered here on the second point, and that is going to be 2-1 to Apollo. As defense at a mountain of hill defending, they did it with class and style, and really felt the pressure coming in from Guardians.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure from Guardians. Discord is kind of it's getting a little robotic there on us for a moment. So you may have to repeat that, but definitely a lot of pressure coming through onto Guardians from Apollo. They were not able to break through that top level.
Indeed not, and I mean, it was really what you like to see from Apollo. I mean, they just really stayed the course. As I drop out of the game, not sure what happened there.
Well, we'll take a quick break, get our tech issues worked out. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a lag spike, but we will be back here momentarily. Let us get this lag resolved. We'll see you in just a moment. Well, welcome back, my friends. Apologize for the quick intermission. We had to get a little tech issue worked out, but we're all ready to go. Havana has been Guardian's chosen map for Escort. See if they can regain the tie here.
Indeed, you know, and looking at what we saw from the defense of Apollo there, I think that, you know, them coming out and deciding that they want to swap sides and start on the defense first is exactly what the doctor is calling for here. As they showed a 4.5 minute, or I'm sorry, a 5.5 minute defense of point B on Hanamura, and not even allowing a single percentage point to be gained. So, you know, Apollo feeling that the defensive posturing might be the best way to win them this championship, as they are up 2-1 right now. As we head to sunny Cuba, and one of the newer maps here in the CGL realm, or in the Overwatch realm, and, you know, I do not like this map. I think it's a crap map. There's no other way to put it. I absolutely
Don't hold back, Billy. Don't hold back.
despise this map. But I mean, it does. I mean, especially as a Reinhardt player, I mean, it's so close quartered. Yeah, I mean,
and I'm thinking point A and point C are going to favor the double shield composition that Apollo's been showing us, and I'm worried for Guardians on this pick. I think Apollo's got the slight edge here.
Indeed, and I think that Apollo and team do have the slight edge here, but if UVL off there brings out the hog again, and they start doing the flanks again like they had before, I think that Apollo's going to struggle with this, because they are very slow to pick up the flank. Yeah. And that is the big thing. They get tunnel vision, and they're not looking off to their side. I mean, look at where UVL author on the Diva sat for a full minute and was not even spotted out.
Yeah, I didn't even get noticed until he jumped down into the middle of Apollo. Fortunately for Apollo, it didn't work out in Guardian's favor. Uviel ended up just staggering himself in a nasty way.
Indeed. I mean, it was hilarious. I mean, the sound that went through my head was the Metal Gear Solid alarm sound.
Yes, yes, the exclamation point popped up over all of Apollo's heads.
Indeed. So, I mean, it looks really good. You know, should they be able to do the flanking again, then, you know, they're going to give Apollo all they can handle as far as, you know, trying to defend the flanks. So we got the ready from both sides. We're going to go ahead and hop in here and see what Guardians can do here in the streets of Havana.
Oh, heck yeah, let's do it. We're headed to Sunny Cuba. Apollo, they took map 3. Will they carry the momentum into Escort? We're about to find out.
Yeah, and I'm really looking to see what Apollo's going to bring out here as far as the DPS, because I mean, we're pretty well assured of what they're going to bring out for the defensive tanks. You know, Fearmoon, we saw them play a few weeks ago, playing the Zenyatta on Volskaya and absolutely clicking heads. But Lucky Dog seems to be getting the nod for the Zenyatta call here as they come out of their spawn. Trower and Duck City right now bringing out a bit of the double sniper comp, and I like it, especially with the long sight lines down here on this first stretch of road here in Havana on the first point. They're going to have the long sight lines also with that sonic arrow. They're going to be able to see who's coming out and what they're bringing out. And as I called before, unless they jabate us, UVL Author is going to be able to bring that hog again, and depending on where he paths to, this could be spelling a lot of headache for Apollo.
Absolutely. We're going to get Hairball on the Widowmaker, so a bit of a Widow duel start things off in the opening streets of Havana. And I like the defensive posture, just sitting back. Duck City picks off Uviel immediately as they pick up that flank. Typical Space trying to go through the post office, but they pick up that flank as well. Apollo, they've got their heads on a swivel here in Havana. Seems like they've learned from their mistakes, Billy.
And I definitely believe that they have learned their lessons from what happened on Kings Row and not checking their 6 and their 9 and 3. I mean, the shield placement right now is absolutely huge. The pull from Rugby right there got all 6 members, or all 5 members in that little enclosed space into their faces.
Guardians still making a bit of progress, and Apollo kind of forced to kite back a little bit. Duck City picks off Hairball. That's not an easy shot for a Widowmaker. Those Doomfists don't stand still very often. Lucky Dog finishing off the Tracer, speaking of difficult skill shots. And those 2 kills, Apollo, well, they're going to stand tall here.
I mean, this is a really well thought out and well coordinated defense coming from Apollo. But I think, you know, should they split off a little bit and get side to side, I think that the head swiveling is going to become a little bit too much, and they're eventually going to be able to pincer in and get into the back line of Apollo. But right now, Duck City is taking heads and not taking any no for an answer.
Yeah, with the Moira going down, Hairball goes down as well. He had to be just perfect on that Doomfist if he planned to turn the tide of this fight. Duck City opening things up strong. Now the Moira returning to battle. Guardians tanks just waiting in this side room for their healer to get there so they can push this flank.
Sights popped right there and revealed both tanks on the left-hand side, and that is part of the awareness that they needed to have. But you're going to have to watch out for Hairball and company coming in right now. Huge gravitic flux coming out.
Hairball going off the Doomfist onto the Sombra. Sound Barrier and Coalescence invested by Guardians as they look to turn the first corner. But Pheromone finds Uviel on the hog. The discorded Tracer in the back trying to harass the Zenyatta. He's going to pop the Transcendence. Lucky Dog keeping Apollo strong in this fight. And Typical Space has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. No amount of blinks are going to get him out of that tight spot.
Indeed not. I mean, that's almost a team wipe right there. Hairball swapping over to the Sombra to try and create a little bit of disruption in the back line for Apollo. And UVL Author's going to have this Roadhog online. I don't know how much he's going to be able to do, especially if he gets discorded. And Lucky Dog is showing up huge right now on the Zenyatta.
Whew, Duck City finding a pair of kills on the Widowmaker as well. And between the two, I mean, what a wicked combination. Guardians have no room to work. Like, they just got to keep their heads down, because otherwise, Duck City and Lucky Dog are picking them right off.
Hairball deciding that he's going to go ahead and just get into the Duck City space and not allow him to have that high ground that he's been perched upon. And now we've got a little bit of a rotation coming around as we thought would happen. UVL Author with the whole hog in hand.
Yeah, I thought he was going to go down the back stairs and just drop right on top of him. He's going to take position up on the high ground. Sigma shield in his face. He's going to have to look out for shots coming through from Duck City. Meanwhile, Hardline pushing through onto the front. Supercharger out. Oh, Hairball with a nice hack and pick onto Rugby. A thrower falls as well. The first good opportunity for Guardians here on Havana, and not a moment too soon as there's just 13 seconds on the clock.
I think that Guile has to really try and press this gravitic flux getting in there. Otherwise, this could be capture point without a squeak. That is limp, to say the least.
Well, good news for Apollo. They did get the whole hog out, and now they have that flux. And coming up on a supercharger here they can use to defend Distillery.
Indeed, I still think that you want to at least try to contest it, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know, also positional advantage, you know, decided that they can make their stand right here at the beginning of point 2 rather than having to wait to come back from spawn.
Oh, what a wicked shot from Duck City. That was a grapple 180 headshot onto Austin. Oh, man, that was pretty. Oh, now Hairball going in. Decided he's seen enough. He's got to keep putting pressure on to this sniper. Otherwise, Duxie's going to run away with this map. EMP available for Guardians. Coalescence coming out as well. Hairball's going to go ahead and throw down the EMP, but it only finds 2. But those are 2 important heroes to take out. Rugby and Guile both falling. No more tanks, no more sustain for the defense.
Indeed, and I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to get back in time to recontest the second point. I mean, Hairball is giving them fits on this Sombra now. That EMP, only catching the tanks, but the tanks dropped immediately. The focus fire was there. And there is the second point as quick as you like. And I go back to the, Guile having the gravitic flux in hand. He could have popped that and contested that point and allowed his team to get back.
Nice move from Hairball, able to take down the Zen. Did not see how that gravitic flux ended up being used, but certainly did not get the value Apollo was hoping for. And Apollo putting up good early stands, but then just folding on the back of these objectives. We'll see if they can change that here at the beginning of Fortress. Duxity finding a good kill. Hairball falling early in that fight as well. Apollo planting their feet here in the beginning of Point C.
And Hairball is going to go ahead and get into the back line and get some hacks off. Really trying to scout out and see where people are at. He's going to try and get on the Duck City again. Duck City having to grapple out and get away.
Ooh. Duck City misses his grapple, but Guile right there peeling for his sniper. And then Duck City turns around and lands the headshot onto Sleepy's. That is teamwork at its finest, Billy.
You got to love the peel back for a DPS. Normally the healers are calling for a peel, but I think Duxie said, "Hey, help! Get me out of here!"
Typical Space was trying to flick around that far left side with the Deadeye. Guile picking him right up. Para kills for the Sigma in that fight. And now with info sights on the board, they know exactly where the remaining 4 members of Guardians are hiding out.
And looking at it, UVL author swapping over to the Sigma now. So we've got double shield versus double shield. Supercharger invested by Rugby Bullskunk.
Oh, and this is going to be a huge flux. I think he got 4 in that, if not 5. Austin Trucks did use the sound barrier, but Troworth dropped the Death Blossom in the back to pick up a typical Space. Does fall to a Coalescence thrown in by Sleepy. Guile and Pheromone striking right back in this fight, finding 2. I believe this is a 5v3 on the point. Oh, 4v3 on the point. You have Duck City still sitting up in the window, laning shots down. Nice shot to take down a typical Space, but I think the front line of Apollo already falling under the weight of Guardians.
I think that they've got to have a little bit more sustained. Sleepy Mouse on this Moira right now is keeping their team up to a T. Even despite the headshots coming in from Duck City, I think Duck City might need to go over to another hero to provide a little bit more defensive oomph behind their defense here, because they're just walking in on Rugby right now.
Yeah, once we're starting to get into Fortress, the Widowmaker becomes less and less viable, though I guess as long as Hairball is on it as well. Typical Space finding first blood, takes a Trower out, so half the Sniper Core gone. Hairball picks off Pheromone, and that can be dangerous. Fear was holding that amplification matrix, and now Hairball falls into the good kill onto Duck City before finally getting taken out by Lucky Dog. Overtime Wick's starting to burn, but the attackers, they look to be in control. Can they clean up the reinforcements enough to get that 3rd point on the board?
I am not sure. I think that if Guile comes out and he gets dropped almost immediately. Rugby will use the option of the Wrecking Ball. The best option for them right now is Guile to gain. Nope.
Rugby just doesn't quite touch. He was so close.
Yeah, that's just too little, too late, and I think sticking with the Widowmaker on the defense too long, even though there were frags getting out, it wasn't enough to shore up the defenses. If your front line is going down in the 3s and you're getting 1 pickoff, I don't necessarily think that's the best trade out. And Guardians, Hairball able to pull out the Widowmaker of his own and started clicking heads. So, I mean, you really negated the value of the Widowmaker at that point. Bring out a Junkrat, start spamming the shields.
I agree. I mean, the Junkrat would have been a good swap. It was the front line that was giving Apollo so much trouble. I mean, Hairball did pop off at a 3K at the very end there, but for the most part, it was just making sure that the tanks were able to stay in the fight. It's the only time Apollo was losing is when their tanks were getting burned down first.
And it was a lack of healing. It was a lack of healing.
Yep.
We discussed this in another final that we covered this week. You can't run a defensive hero that's not going to provide enough healing, despite the frags that you're getting. It's not what is required at some points. You have to run a healer that's going to keep your tank line up, because Rugby and Guile, if they have the resources, are pretty unstoppable at points, unless you get a good flank on them.
Oh, and Guardians with a very aggressive posturing here. I think this is really indicative of the personality of these two teams. The two very different defensive styles we've seen here. Guardians with the Reinhardt and the Sigma right in the face of Apollo, right out of the gate, trying to see if they can get some early picks and get inside the heads of Apollo. Rugby is going to fall early, who is also coming out on the Reinhardt. It's something I did not quite expect. I was expecting Rugby to go back on the Orisa. But Lucky Dog and Pheromone striking right back, and with that long walk back time, a big opportunity for Apollo to get out of the spawn here.
Indeed, but Austin Trox on this Lucia right now will be able to speed his team back and get them into a relative position of safety. Soft resets are good, especially in this position, but that is a huge rock coming from Guile there, taking out Hardline on the Reinhardt. Their main source of shielding is gone. That is the signal to push forward and get in around this corner and really start aggressing onto what Guardians is showing to them right now.
Rugby went back into spawn, immediately made the swap to Orisa, threw out a fantastic halt that started that kill. But look at this! Guardians jumping right back into this thing. A typical space with a big pulse bomb. Finds Rugby and the Baptiste. Austin Trox getting into the middle of it as well on that Lucia.
Indeed, do we see them come back up and try this really aggressive forward stance? I think that, it's really proved very vital to them right now. They're also going to have to look out for the hairball flank on the left side, as they haven't really spotted him out yet.
Oh, yeah, he's just hiding in the post office. Now he's going to come out, put pressure down on a Lucky Dog, and there's a massive 5-man shatter from Hardline on the front line. Typical Space get in there to help clean up the trash. And that is it. Back to spawn goes Apollo. What a fantastic Earth Shatter.
Indeed, they forced out the Immortality Barrier earlier. Hairball providing the pressure to make Fear Moon O or Lucky Dog pull that out. And, man, you've got to think right now a swap is in order. And that's what we get, a Trower and Fear Moon O bringing out the Pharmacy combo.
Indeed, I like the change. Take it to the skies to see if they can get above the Reaper and the Tracer of Guardians. Speaking of Tracers, Typical Space going to drop down into the back, start putting pressure onto the healers. The Mortality Field forced out early, but 2 kills coming through. Gravitic Flux from Guardians to try to equalize, and 2 kills indeed light up the feed for Guardians, but a res for Apollo, and Apollo striking back in their own right, now throwing a Flux of their own onto the point, and that's going to take out the Sigma, allow for some more progress through point A.
That was a nice rocket into the face of a Typical Space. As Typical Space is giving them fits right now with the speed and mobility, the ability to recall and get the health back also. But a Trower and Fear Moon O on this Pharmacy is going to give a lot of progress to this point. Now, Uvial Author has decided Sigma's no longer the tank du jour. We're going to go ahead and go over to the Diva to contest the Pharmacy in the sky.
Typical Space trying to get that stick up onto the high ground, doesn't quite make it. Hairball dies, holding his Death Blossom. Oh, that could be disastrous for the defense. Now it's just the Tracer left trying to stall this thing out, but Apollo will eventually push this thing home.
Indeed, and it was a hell of a stand there from Guardians as they pushed it to 30 seconds before finally getting it in. They did get it in before Guardians did by about half a minute. So you've got to think, pushing through the distillery here, there's not going to be that much space for a Trower to work with on this Pharah.
Hairball, I think he was trying to get a little clever and position himself above Apollo, but they've got their head on a swivel right now. They know to watch for these flanks, and Guile right there to keep him in check. Oh, but they didn't check the high ground. Hairball takes out a Pharmacy with his Death Blossom up on the balcony. What a killer play from the Reaper.
The teleport to the Y-press right there was absolutely perfectly done. They had no idea that he was going to come over the top there. And, yeah, that's a quick reset from Apollo. 2 minutes on the clock. They've got to think, is this Pharmacy going to work? Or, will the barrage be enough to push them through?
And I think another question on that is having the barrage enough to warrant not swapping? Because there's certainly not the headspace to work with inside the Silver. You see the Reaper causing far problems. I mean, I think that alone tells you need to make a swap. But Blizzard coming out from Apollo, they're going to manage to fight too with that. Austin frozen stiff as well. Both of those icicles get shattered. A Trower looking for room to drop the Blizzard. Can he find it? He's got a typical space in his sights. Typical space goes down. Doesn't even need the barrage to help Apollo push this thing home. See if they can get 2 points on the board. Still have a Reaper to deal with, though.
But, I mean, he's going to go down fast. I mean, the tanks are in there. Here comes the barrage from a Trower. No dice on it.
No, the defense matrix right there. The tank's returning to battle just in time to help stall this thing out. Gravitic Flux coming through from Guile. Sound barrier right there from Austin. Now we're going to get the typical space. Deadeye, and it finds 3! The Cowboy! Woo! Taking out half of the team. Self-destruct taking out the other half.
Yeah, and 45 seconds left on the clock now, Bullskunk. And this is rapidly approaching last fight territory. For the side from Apollo, you've got an Amp Matrix and a Supercharger online. Trower finally swapping over to the Cowboy Duck City, picking up the Archer of the Shimada clan, and we've got to see. Are they going to have enough time? Are they going to have enough space to really get into it?
Oh, nice awareness from Duck City, able to find Hairball behind him. But it means that the Hanzo is forced to turn his attention back there, and he still can't win the fight. You don't have those arrows pouring through the Ant Matrix that Apollo so desperately needed, though a Trower is able to win the battle against the opposing McCree. 5v5 left on the point. Coalescence coming out from Guardians, and they're able to burn down both supports. Guile does strike back and eventually take the Reaper down, but Apollo struggling to maintain presence here on this point, and that overtime wick is starting to go bye-bye.
Yep, and once again, it was the lack of healing. And now they're going to change to a more meta composition as far as the healing core is concerned. Where was this before? That is my question, as why not run the Moira Lucio and keep your tanks up instead of worrying about fragging out on the support line?
I mean, it's a gamble, and if you're not getting the picks, then it's going to go to your opposing tanks. Like you say, the sustain's not there, and it's exactly what we just saw. Guardians tying us up 2-2 as we head into our next control map.
Indeed, and I mean, what a frickin' stand there from Guardians to avoid going down match or championship point. It was just the sustain. Sleepy's Mouse on this Moira. I'd be very interested to see how much, there it is, almost 18,000 healing across that. You just can't. You cannot deny that the sustain was better from the side of Guardians, and that was the real telltale sign in that match, is who was able to keep their tanks up the best.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree completely. Guardians winning the frontline war. And Apollo's DPS showing up in a big way, finding a lot of flashy picks. Good head clicking, if you would. But in the end, you've got to have that tank sustain. I mean, it's either that or you've got to find the frags. And if you're not consistently able to find the frags every time and find them first, you're going to lose some of those engagements. And it only takes a couple of fight wins for the attackers to push that thing through.
Indeed, and I think that, a Trower, on the first point, absolute right choice to bring the FAR out there with the skybox being as high as it is there.
Right.
The ability to really be mobile. But I mean, inside the distillery, you should have, popped barrage on the first person you saw that didn't have shielding or mobility to get away, and then go back and get a different hero.
Swap. Yeah.
Yep.
And we saw fantastic defensive showing from Apollo, where they were finding the picks early, but then in the last fight of each point, Guardians would manage to push it through. They pushed the first point through in overtime, pushed the second point through in overtime, and still managed to find the cart all the way into the back of the fortress.
Indeed, and I mean, once again, it's the sustain that got them there. Sleepy's Mouse, once again, pumping out the healing instead of, being a DPS Moira, actually doing what they're supposed to be there for. And I mean, that was just, it's hard to watch when people are very stubborn on certain heroes, and we get crossed with people because we've come to know them. It's like, gosh, you need to switch right now. You need to switch right now. And the sustain just wasn't there for Apollo and company.
Hey, it makes for one exciting map. Guardians getting themselves right back in this thing. As we are all tied up, heading to control, and it looks like Ilios is our next map. Is that correct?
Ilios is our next map, and Jexy is going to come in for Rugby in the tank line. And then we're going to bring in Hydra for Lucky Dog, as this is our typical control map lineup.
Correct.
So,
Correct. Apollo likes this lineup once they go to control. This is not surprising in the slightest.
indeed. So let me ask for readies, as we are going to head to beautiful sunny Greece, one of our favorite maps collectively. And let's see what we get to here on the control maps.
Good news here is maps 5 to 8. Well, my map screen still works for those, so I can show you the map screen again. I work so hard on these map screens, and I it bums me out when they break. I gotta admit. Oh man, we have had a massive amount of support coming through during this broadcast, and I would just like to take a moment to say thank you for everyone. We're going to have a little bit of an extended close, and I'll be sure and thank you all individually, but I did want to take a moment right now and just, for everybody at home, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is absolutely hype. The support, absolutely overwhelming, and I'm just so appreciative. I'm so very appreciative. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we were talking about this before we came on the air tonight, and I've been overwhelmed throughout the entire season. That yeah, it's been a wonderful season. The support has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, not only just the bits and the cheers and the subs and the gift of subs and everything else, but just the messages that we get from everybody.
Yeah. The kind words and the encouragement. I mean, it all means so much. I just saw one of the funniest comments in ChefBilly. Somebody said I should just take my hair and put it on your head like a hat. It's one of the funniest comments. It was just random. I just happened to glance down in time to see this random comment, and it just made me laugh. I had to share. I had to share.
I just looked over to it.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, heading to Ilios. Who do you think has the advantage here on this one?
It's been back and forth all.
It's been so back and forth. This is so tough to judge. I'm giving you a very difficult question.
I think that if Sleepy's continues on the sustain train that he is on, also one of my favorite people in CGL, I think that that Guardians might have the slight edge here, because we're seeing two basically off healers coming out of Apollo every single time. I think that the sustain war is what's going to keep is who's going to decide wins here in Ilios.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Ruins going to Apollo, given what we've seen so far. But I think Lighthouse and Well, I mean, Guardians might have the advantage. They might be able to take the lead for the first time tonight.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing down all night, and if they get the win here, I'm seriously concerned for Apollo's chances of winning this championship.
Yeah, Apollo needs to stop this momentum right now and steal it right back. It's a must.
Yep. So let's go ahead and go to Greece.
Let's do it. I love this map. I think Ilios is absolutely one of my favorite control maps.
It looks like chat is telling Uvial to play Hog.
Oh, it's fantastic. And we're starting off on Well, so imagine you'll get your wish, chat. I imagine you will get your wish.
And it was Zoc that told him to play it, another fellow tank player. Zoc, you're filthy, and we love you for it.
Oh, man, oh, man. All right, no side swaps here. Apollo picking up the blue jerseys, Guardians in the red. I think it's kind of appropriate. I think it's appropriate.
No, I think you're right. I also think that a typical space has gotten into the head of a Troer right now, because this is a very good Pharah map. And, the frags that a typical space was able to secure, not only in the distillery, but also dropping a Troer once outside on the streets phase, or on the first point of Havana there, maybe got into their head.
Well, we're actually getting the Rhine Zarya from Apollo. Not surprising with Jexy in the lineup. Hydra on the Moira, so they will have a little bit more of that sustain. Rotations coming through from both teams as they both take up each other's side, and suddenly Apollo attacking from the other end. I think Guardians are going to push right back through the gazebo. No, we're just going to get a clash inside the gazebo. Summertime fun here on Elios. Maywall coming up, and they've separated Hairball from the rest of the crew, and Hardline as well. Hardline goes down. Hairball in trouble. Hairball is going to fall from the double shotguns of a thrower, and Apollo looking strong to start things off, though Guardians with a little bit of free percentage here in the beginning.
I mean, I think they're more worried about getting security of the kills than anything else. And I mean, this is just cleanup at this point. 16%, 17% garnered by Guardians there. Watch out for the end of this map once we get to the end of this map, because I think we're going to have a flippy-floppy little match here on the well. And that 18% may come back to bite Apollo by not contesting the point while they were securing those kills.
I think you may be right. Hairball dropping in behind has picked up this interesting positioning from Apollo and sandwiching him down into the alley. That is a back alley and a face you don't want to see in that back alley if you are Apollo, and suddenly they are half a team down, and they're going to lose this point, Billy.
Indeed they are. I mean, the contest is there from Fear Muno, but he's going to go down. Jexy's going to go down, and that's a clean take. Great teleport from Hairball to get behind the back line of Apollo and then just start raining hell with the shotguns.
That was a wonderful read from Hairball, just acknowledging the situation in the game sense to position himself perfectly to put that pressure down and sandwiched Apollo there. And Apollo choosing to go through their own back alley this time, and here comes Hairball once again. Death Blossom coming out, and it's going to find Fearmon a typical space getting in the mix as well. Somehow, yeah, I was about to say, there's no way that Guile survives that. They do! I don't believe it! Apollo frags out. I don't believe it. The heels coming through in a big way. And Apollo are able to muscle themselves through all of the damage from Guardians and retake the point.
A thrower takes the mech from Uvial and then just takes a quick little plunge into the pit of hell. This is going to be back and forth, as I said before. Guile does have Shatter online, but typical space, depending on how the flank goes, might be able to pick up a multi-kill with this Deadeye.
Yeah, we'll see how Space wants to use it. Right now, Space just going up the gut, but the rest of the team circling around towards Gazebo's side. Okay, it looks like Space taking a long walk to go catch up with his team, and Apollo, they're going to go put the pressure right down. Throw in another Shatter. That's going to find Uvial, and Uvial's going to get dematched. Coalescence out from Guardians to try to help them survive through the Earth Shatter, through this Blizzard that's come out. Hardline will literally one in the corner. Duck City go in there to finish him off. Apollo maintaining control here on well.
And a thrower threw in the Death Blossom and got 0 value for it. And I'm kind of surprised. I think the heals coming out were just too much to really get the value that he wanted out of it. But Austin Trox has the sound barrier available to move in. Uvial Author's going to have a self-destruct here in the next team fight, I believe. Hydra's going to go ahead and start with the Coalescence Bullskunk.
We're going to get the sound barrier from Apollo as well. Typical Space throwing in the Deadeye from across the map. But a thrower winning the Battle of the Edgelord. A Typical Space finds nothing with his Deadeye. A little bit of a repositioning here as Guardians have pushed 3 people onto the objective, and the rest of Apollo is still trying to hold down the main front line. Self-destruct finds one, but a thrower answers back with a pair of his own. 4v4 on the point, question mark. Graviton Surge out from Apollo, but Guardians investing their Death Blossom down. Now it's a 2v1 on the point, favoring Apollo. Duck City winning that duel.
Yep, and I mean, the contest is there, looking at how fast they get it. That's a huge Shatter coming out, though.
Overtime Wick starting to burn as Apollo got the flip in. The 2-man Shatter. Well, there was nobody there to follow it up on, and there goes Hardline into the pit. Our first environmental kill of the round. Earth Shatter out from Guile, but did not find the target he was looking for. Troyer's going to go ahead and invest the Death Blossom into the mix. That picks up the Moira. And with this, Guardians' hopes dwindling of taking this opening round. Not a whole lot of sustain left on the point. It's going to take a miracle here, Billy.
Got Hardline chart coming back in. Then nope. That's done and done. I thought that Hardline was going to be able to get back onto the point and contest it. But Jexy v. Uvial, Jexy comes out on top, and that's 1-0 to Apollo, and that's exactly what they were hoping for, going to Ilios here and trying to swing the momentum back into their favor just like a pendulum. It's gone back and forth between Apollo and Guardians, and I mean, 2 of our legacy orgs here, and we're getting the show that everybody was hoping for.
Oh, man, this has definitely been one for the ages. What an epic bout. And it continues to just go back and forth. No one team seeming to able to steal the momentum entirely.
1. Round 2.
No swaps here from Apollo as we head into Lighthouse. Looks like Hairball's going over to the Junkrat, typical space, to the Ash. The only changes we're going to see in the server. Both teams using their Lucios to try to rush onto the objective, get that positional advantage. Guardians winning the race, they're going to get there first. Trower coming in on that Reaper, seeing if he can dismantle this tank line, but no, Uvuel right on top of things, ready with the defense matrix. Does eventually get demacked as Guile and Jexy move on to the point and put so much damage down. Guile, he's just so swinging for the heavens. Back there dueling with Hardline as we speak. Duxity falls as this battle continues to unravel. Big Earthshatter down. Hardline drops, but so does Guile. Guardians will get first control.
Indeed, I mean, Guile picking up a very fast Earthshatter in the middle of that fight, but really to no avail. I think you want to hold that, and do a soft reset, but Hairball on this Junkrat is absolutely proving the worth of that choice. Typical space taking the high ground here, trying to deny the aggression coming from Apollo. They're going to have to path this the right way to avoid the Southern Bell's Viper.
Yes, indeed. No ultimates online for Apollo. Coalescence coming out as we speak. Earthshatter used, finds Apollo's front line, but the follow-up not quite there. Hairball's tire picked off by Jexy on the Zarya with the Graviton Surge ready to go. Going to invest that Graviton Surge. That's going to hold 3 in place. Sound barrier out from Austin, but it can't save Sleepy's mouse. If Apollo can close this out quickly, there's not enough sustain for Guardians to stick around, and Guardians should fall, especially with the blizzards coming through, but nobody told the typical space that, as he strikes right back. Uvuel getting into the mix as well. 2v3 favoring Apollo on the objective right now, but here come reinforcements for Guardians.
I mean, but they're still garnering all this progress onto the point here. Moira going to go ahead and come in and contest people. Getting 2! Oh, my goodness.
The two-man shatter comes through. Guile able to find the Pilot Diva, but can't quite finish off the Moira. Hardline and Hairball return to the battle just in time for Guardians to maintain control of this point. Apollo using their sound barrier to try to get back in this fight. Bob throwing it from Guardians in response. And it's just all-out chaos on the point. Pheromone trying to hurl himself onto the objective to make something happen, but he dies. Troyer does pick up a kill. Jexy finding a pair, and the self-destruct coming out from Guardians to try to stave off this assault. Apollo finding a little bit of ground to work here, as it's going to be a 4v3 on the point, approaching 99% for Guardians.
Indeed, charge coming in from a hardline chart. He's going to get focused down in a hurry. Troyer getting a lot of space here and a lot of value for that, but I mean, the tire being brought in gets no value. And man, this is a flip for Apollo needed in the extreme, as it's 99-10 right now. You've got to think Troyer is going to have to land his Death Blossom and maybe swap over to the Far, as we've seen him do before in other matches that we've seen. Because the Far right now, the ability to move around and contest the high spaces, typical space, losing the Southern Belle in favor of Tracer. And you've got to really want to make sure that you're watching the flanks right now, because Hairball and typical space could come at you from both sides or up above.
A massive ult advantage for Apollo. They should be able to win this fight at least. Coalescence used to start things off from both teams. Blizzard coming out from Apollo. We'll see if Duxity's ultimate can beat the difference maker. No follow-up there. Apollo just playing very conservative, just sitting inside their little hidey hole, waiting for Guardians to make a move. Oh, a Troller teleports out to the back, throws down the Death Blossom, doesn't quite find much. Pheromone with a good boop, sends Hairball into the abyss. Typical space trying to throw the Pulse Bomb down, does not find what he's looking for, and suffers to the death sounds of Pheromone's Lucio. And Apollo hanging on here with that big ult advantage.
Still with the ultimate advantage over Guardians right now. You've got self-destruct, you've got shatter, you've got an all-important sound barrier, and Hydra on this Moira right now, sustaining the tank line of Apollo, and that's exactly what they need. They've been needing this in these street phases and control maps, or I'm sorry, and escort maps. It just hasn't been there.
We're going to get the tire out from Hairball to initiate. Tickle Space swapped off that Tracer over to the McCree for this final fight and gets taken out immediately. But that tire from Hairball does find Guile. No more Reinhardt for Apollo as the overtime wick starts to burn in this 99-99 bout here on Lighthouse. Big charge from Hardline, trying to get some positioning on point, but a Trower right there with his pair of shotguns to greet him. Ice Block coming out as the self-destruct used from Guardians, but everybody from Apollo, but Pheromone, able to avoid that destruction. Hydra answers right back, finds boost supports of Guardians, and now nothing to repel off the massive amount of damage from Apollo. We're going to get a teleport in from Hairball as he comes in, but his last-ditch efforts not enough for Guardians. Apollo taking the 3-2 lead with the victory here on Helios.
I mean, from 99-0 down on the second point, Apollo comes storming back, and really the ultimate discipline shown from them. That's the first thing that really won them this map here, as they go up now 3-2 in the series. But also Hydra on this Moira, sustaining the tank line, one of the bigger points that we saw.
Agreed. And that's, I mean, this composition from Apollo, like, we have these two very distinct looks from their control composition and their payload, you know, assault map composition. And I love the Moira Reinhardt look that they've been showing us. It's very strong. They've won both of their control maps.
Indeed, they have. And I think you keep Hydra in there. I'm not giving any kind of shade or anything like the Lucky Dog, but I think the Moira pick right now, the sustain, the healing, the coalescence, keeping the tank line up, is what's going to win you this championship if you were Apollo. On the other side, Guardians is doing nothing wrong, really. It's just a pick here or there, and this could be a completely different series. So, whoo!
Well,
map 6 on the way.
Apollo on championship point. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. Y'all go hydrate, but don't go anywhere. We're going to see you right back here on Hybrid for Guardians Pick. Well, welcome back, my friends, to the Console Overwatch Multi-Tier Tournament. We are here with the Tier 3 Grand Finals headed into Map 6. Apollo up 3-2 in this first to 4 series. It is Guardians map pick, and they have chosen Hollywood to be the one, hopefully, to send us to Map 7. At least that's what Guardians are hoping for.
Indeed, that is exactly what they were hoping for. On the other hand, Apollo up 3-2 now on championship point.
Championship
and
point.
It puts a little bit of pressure on both sides. Apollo, the pressure to close out, and for Guardians, the pressure to stay in the maps. Looks like we're going to have another substitution coming in, as I just see it come in right now. We do have substitutions coming in. We've got Jexy coming out for Rugby, Hydra coming out in the support line for, Hydra coming out for Lucky Dog OW in the support line, and Duxity coming out for Clarity in the DPS role. And on the side of Guardians, we've got Heels Who coming in for Gary, for Sleepy's Mouse.
Gotcha. I think Heels Who's who we saw mostly in the semifinal or the division finals match against Bronwyn. And then Apollo going back to their payload objective style lineup that we see with Rugby in the main tank role, Clarity back in on that DPS, and Lucky Dog coming in on the support, which means we're probably going to get the double shield in Hybrid, and we'll probably get that DPS support lineup that you're not a real big fan of, Billy.
Yeah, I think that Lucky Dog needs to either run the Moira or put Hydra back in, because Hydra is showing up massively in the heals department, really keeping the tank line up, and I think that's the reason why they won on Ilios and why they won, the first control map of the day at Busan. So I question the pick only because I see what the other side is running as far as supports, and they just have to match that sustain that Guardians has shown on every other map type except for control.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I agree completely. Otherwise, it's those quick picks. It forces Apollo to get the early kills. Otherwise, they're not going to win the fights. Like, it just seems that cut and dry. If Apollo does not find the first 2 kills, they don't seem to win those fights.
Indeed, and so we're going to go ahead and go to Hollywood.
Let's do it.
As Guardians will be on the attack here, and I think we might get a little bit of a fire battle here. A Trower and Hairball both very well versed on the Flying Egyptian hero, and I really want to see what it is that Apollo is going to do that's been so different.
I think they're just hoping their double shield core can hold on here in the defense.
Ready for battle.
Looks like they're going to show us a little Torbjorn Ash in that regard. With the double shield. Lucky going to the Ana here. I think this is a much better pick.
Oh my gosh, they at least listened to me a little bit. I still think the Moira here is the better pick, but the anti-needs, you know, Lucky Dog, we have not seen Lucky Dog on the Ana this year as far as I remember. Looking through the VODs that we have, I don't remember seeing Lucky Dog, but maybe once or twice on the Ana. So I hope that the sustain will be there. I hope they really take advantage of the anti-nades as well.
Looks like the Torb turret and Lucky's Honor are going to be on the elevator here. The rest of the defense taking a pretty standard approach there on the front of the objective. We're going to get Reinhardt Wrecking Ball from Guardians as they take to the attack. Hairball on the Reaper. Typical space on the Ash to put the hurt down.
I really wanted to see where Hairball goes. Is he going to be more of a sneaky, wraithy meme lord, or is he going to be up in everybody's face? It looks like he got behind them, but thought better of it.
Well, he teleported down into the alley, and I think the rest of the team was going to go alley, and then decided half the team's going to go up to the high ground, and the rest of Guardians circling around to the back, including both DPS. Hardline already eating a ton of damage. Pheromone finding that final blow. Hairball teleported across to the Cafe balcony and does take down a Trower on the Torbjorn, but Guardians have lost their Mercy, have lost their Ash. Hairball's still alive, and if Apollo wants to hold, they've got to kill the Reaper, who so far has 3 kills, looking for more, does finally get taken out. But I think he's given Guardians enough of an advantage here that they're going to be able to push in and eventually clean up point A.
Yeah, Rugby is just towing the line right there, trying to stay up as long as they possibly can. A Trower swapping over to the Echo right now. Rugby goes down. Not much in the way of being able to contest this point right now. I'm worried about, once again, the support line here on these non-control maps for Apollo. The sustain just is not there. You're not there to kill. You're there to keep your tanks up. And I'm very concerned about that at this point.
There was so much chaos in that cafe. There was a chair stuck in the wall. That's how much chaos we saw there on point A. Heals who, speaking of supports, does have that Coalescence ready to go. Valkyrie online for Guardians as well, just to illustrate how much those support duos how much work they're getting done. Support ult's available for Apollo as well as Supercharger and Bob, so plenty to work with for both teams. A typical space getting taken down by a Trower's Echo to start things off. Hairball getting the revenge kill. 1 DPS missing for both sides. Guile takes down the Reaper. No more damage dealers for Guardians as they look to start their trek into the streets phase of Hollywood here.
Yeah, and I mean, the res is going to be so crucial here for the side from Guardians, as they're just going to be able to bring up back the Edgelord. And it's full steam ahead right now. Big anti coming in from Lucky Dog, but he loses his life in the interim. And this is just going to be an uncontested push through the streets of Hollywood here. And I'm going to keep harking to it until they say, until they do something to really make the sustain work. Anabap not good enough right now as it stands.
Yeah, Apollo called for a retreat, it looked like, and Lucky Dog did not get the message. He was the lone man left standing up on the front lines. We are going to get a contest coming through from Apollo as they throw Supercharger down. Bob out from Guardians to respond, as well as a pair of mines and a massive Death Blossom over the top of it all. Between the 3, that is a quick team wipe for Guardians.
We're looking at like 4 minutes, 45 seconds to get through point C here on Hollywood. And now they've gone back to their traditional pick of the Zen and the Baptiste. It is your tank line is just getting decimated by Hairball and typical space. Hardline really doesn't have to worry about coming into them because the sustain for Rugby and Guile just isn't there. They don't have to worry about it.
Now Hairball teleporting across. He's going to go up to the high ground. Typical space does go down, but res available. Gravitic Flux out from Apollo as they try to put the brakes on this momentum. That's going to find Hardline, but the healing there, Hardline right back up into full health immediately. He turns around, throws down an Earth Shatter. That finds one. And Troy are able to get back on their feet, ice block up, and suddenly Hardline in a bad spot. Hairball does make his way into the back line, picks off Lucky Dog, but Apollo, they see that. They want some revenge for their Omnic Healer's death, and Guardians looking very scattered here so far, and they're pushing to point C.
Yeah, but predictable space takes an unshielded Rugby that was just standing there, took a shot to the dome, and went down in a heap. And that is the real advantage to them. They're going to be able to push forward and really get into the back line of Apollo. The sustain has to be there.
Yeah, the tank line not staying on their feet nearly long enough. While Apollo was distracted by the Wrecking Ball, the reinforcements showed up, and typical space finding a couple of kills in that endeavor. Hairball now working his way into the back line where there is an amplification for Apollo to try to help them hold on here. But so far, the momentum cleanly in Guardians' favor. Big smash down to finish off Guile in a wicked fast time here on Hollywood. Guardians, whew, they made a real case to tie up this match.
Yeah, absolutely they did. And I mean, swapping over to a speed character that can sustain your team there in the last minutes. I'm sorry, as an analyst, you should have been playing that Lucio in the beginning instead of running a BAP and Zen through the streets phase. The Ana was still a better choice. Maybe running a Lucio into that would have been a lot better, or maybe an Ana Moira, maybe two main healers coming out for you for Apollo. And that is just the stubbornness of the support line right now. I'm going to call it as I see it, and that's what I'm seeing is the stubbornness of the Apollo healers to not play into a more sustainable line to keep up Rugby and Guile, because Hardline Chart and Uvial Author are just walking through the shielding and just swinging the hammer with impunity. You can't shield against a hammer swing.
You can't? Oh, no, that's what I've been doing wrong, Billy.
I mean, that's what we've both been doing wrong. I mean, me being a mere T1, I find that sometimes I get dinged for that from people, but my game sense is a lot better than most people think, and watching what I'm seeing from them, maybe in the higher elos that a BAP Zen would work or an Ana BAP would work, but I mean, it's just not enough sustain here in this tier right now as what we're seeing.
Guardians on the defense here, hoping that fantastic push will be enough. Using the Reinhardt Orisa kind of double main tank double shield setup here to defend point A. We got Hairball on the May here. On the other side, Apollo sticking with their Rhine Zarya pushing in. A little bit surprising given their tank lineup. Clarity sticking with the Reaper and immediately putting pressure onto the front line of Guardians. Heal 2, the first victim on Apollo's attack. Hairball under a lot of pressure, forced to ice block up, can't survive once the ice block fades away. Now the attention turned Uvial on the Orisa. Cannot survive the immense amount of pressure, and Apollo looking to pick up this first point in equally fast time.
Well, boy howdy, when you bring a little bit of speed and sustain into the mix, look what happens. You take the point in lightning fast time. My point is made there as they go ahead and capture this very fast with 5 minutes and 31 seconds to get through the streets phase of Hollywood. And yeah, the sustain is there for the tank line, and when you are able to aggress onto the opposing team there, yeah, it's going to yield you some wonderful results.
Apollo way ahead in the ult department for everybody involved. Defense making the swap. Uvala going over to the Roadhog coming off of that Orisa. Coalescence out from both teams. Earth Shatter from Apollo who's going to find 2. The charge afterwards. Able to take down a hard line. Clarity on the Reaper. Finds Pair. Make that 3 kills for Clarity on the Edgelord. Bob thrown into the mix, but Clarity happy to send him back to spawn as well. We'll call it a 3.5k here for the Reaper. Make it a 4.5k.
Indeed, and Sleepy coming in. Oh, I'm sorry, Austin Trucks coming in on the Moira, fading in, trying to contest the point for as long as they can, and just gets absolutely manhandled. And there's this very fast time coming through the streets phase. Look what happens when you go to a more sustainable healer line. And I've called it out, and my point is being made as we speak.
Now, working through West, where Apollo just needs one more clean fight, and they'll put that second point on the board. do have to watch out for the Earth Shatter, but that finds nothing. A wonderful bubble from Guile to protect Rugby through that Shatter, and a thrower right there to help with the finishing blows. The entirety of Apollo collapsed onto hardline chart. No more shielding meant that Death Blossom was free to find all of the targets, and Apollo's free to find that second point.
And what, 5 minutes, 25 seconds to get through point C here. And the ult advantage still in their favor. This Graviton Surge is going to be huge, but they're going to need to get the progress going on the point despite getting an early kill on one of the healers. Oceantrox going down early in that, but a nice hook from Uviel taking out their main source of sustain. Nice fire strike coming from hardline chart, and this is going to spell a quick retreat for the side from Apollo. Just a fast little soft reset.
Indeed. Guardian's able to get themselves a little bit back in the ult economy as well. They'll have 4 available for this next defense. Still tons of time on the clock and 4 ults for Apollo as they look to come back into point C.
Indeed, I think it's going to be dueling lasers to initiate with from Heals 2 and Lucky Dog. I think that's the correct move. And Hairball in the back line, dropping the Death Blossom.
Deadeye coming out as well, but it's the Death Blossom finding the goods. Earth Shatter invested. Coalescence thrown in from Guardians. An expensive fight for the defense, but they will win it. They got to watch out for those tank ults and a Coalescence from the other side, though, once Apollo respawns.
Indeed, I mean, really the only thing that was invested there was the Meteor Strike from the Thrower, and ended up picking up the Edgelord and Hairball, stopping the Death Blossom animation from happening. Here comes a grab out from...
Oh, and the Coalescence to burn through it immediately. 2 kills in Apollo's favor. Hairball wraithing out of it, going to go back to the objective, but there's not anything squishy there for you, Hairball. Just a bunch of death, and here comes your gong, Billy.
I love the Gong of Death. I do love the Gong of Death. Hardline Chart's going to have their Earth Shatter to start the defense here. Also a Whole Hog ready to go. But Rugby's going to have a Shatter of his own, Clarity coming up on the Death Blossom of his own very quickly.
That Death Blossom could be absolutely game-changing. 35 seconds separating the two teams currently. If Apollo can push it in on this fight, they'll equalize the time. First Earth Shatter blocked. Second Earth Shatter gets through and finds a Thrower. A Whole Hog finds Guile. Whole Hog finds a Thrower as well. 2 kills for the Roadhog before he gets finally taken out. And the defense, well, they're going to burn this clock down below that magic 3-minute mark.
And now in the interim, a typical space is going to be able to find a nice flank angle to maybe drop this Deadeye onto the unsuspecting heads of Apollo. Austin Trox is going to have a sound barrier to compete with this Death Blossom that Clarity gained in that last fight. Man, this is turning out to be a barn burner here on the streets of Hollywood.
Yeah, you can see Guardians kind of feeling the pressure. They're playing a lot more conservative than we saw earlier in the match. Both DPS sticking back behind their tanks. The Deadeye launched from spawn, and it finds Rugby. What an important kill. Main tank missing for Apollo. And despite the fact that they've struck back with 3 kills here, without their Reinhardt, this final push could prove difficult. Clarity there to carry it. A Thrower finding a couple kills as well, and despite that missing shield, Apollo push it in. Just 33 seconds behind the time set by Guardians.
Yeah, and with the new rules happening, it's only going to be 2 minutes, 33 seconds for Guardians and 2 minutes for the side from Apollo. So we're on championship point, as we mentioned before, for Apollo. And, you know, they're going to come out on the attack first, having the lesser time bank. And you've got to think, you know, what they showed there on the first point, having the speed and the sustain to get in to Guardians' defenses. Should they be able to come out with that again, I think that they could capture point A in a relative quick time, and then really push through the streets phase and see how much progress they can get. Because when we saw the Guardians come through, they stalled out a little bit in the beginning of the fight, and then they were able to push through. And then streets and point C were just lightning fast from Guardians. So once they crack the defenses, whose ever defenses holds best here is who's going to win this map.
I think 5 points is what you should be aiming for if you're Apollo right here. Given just how offensive, how attack forward, should I say, these two teams have been, I think you've got to get that 5 points on the board to go into your extra innings defense comfortably.
Indeed, and I mean, I'm really, really interested to see how they come out again. Looks like they're going to bring out the Doomfist and the Edgelord. Speed in.
Yeah, very conservative, typical defense from Guardians. They do have the turret up on the high ground of the cafe. Hog sitting on that front high ground. Just kind of playing overlook right now. Interesting rotation from Apollo as they push over to that far right side. Now they're going to go in and attack. Bubbles ready. Here comes the speed. Here comes the charge. Clarity finds a kill. Rugby getting very aggressive. Goes in, just winging that hammer like there's no tomorrow. And kills. Lighten up, Blue. A Trower showing up big on the Doomfist. And that was a big 3K for a Trower there.
Took out the turret as well just as soon as Hairball got it set up, and I mean that is a lightning fast take. That is less than a minute to take point A here in the overtime innings for Apollo. You've got to think Clarity with the Death Blossom coming up soon. Rugby not getting as much value out of the fire strikes as you may want to see him have, but right now it's all about the DPS and how many frags can they get out.
Oh, Rugby getting way too aggressive. Charges right into the face of Hardline, gets melted down. Oh, that's just a terrible time to leave the rest of your team behind. You've only got 35 seconds to work with here.
Indeed, I mean, but they are going to have enough time to recontest. So that is a brilliance of that. If there is a silver lining in the cloud for Apollo, is that they can group up once again as a total 6 and go in there and try and get some more progress on this.
Chor leaping in from the top ropes, gets hooked immediately. What a play from Uvial Author. Hairball does go down, holding that Molten Core, a massive defensive ultimate that could have stopped Apollo in their tracks. The Deadeye might be the one to do it. The uppercut does find him, but a typical Sace able to pull the trigger, find the kill on a Trower. Sound barrier from Apollo as they try to get aggressive. An amazing block from Hardline onto that Earth Shatter, but Rugby responds in kind with his shield. Clarity getting into the mix, finds a kill, but Whole Hog inside that tiny room means that Reaper stands no chance. 1-1 up the board here, and it's a 4v3 on the objective, favoring Apollo. Graviton Surge misses entirely. Maybe found one. Maybe that did get Uvial, and he was just behind those haystacks out of my line of sight there. Eventually, we were going to get the cart moving for Apollo through Westworld here.
Oh my goodness, that was a very shaky Graviton Surge shot out there by Guile, but he did end up picking up, I had the rear view on it, did get him into the middle of that, and 3 kills being secured there. Nothing really in the bank right now for them. They can't leave the payload, which means they are really dependent on people staying on the cart right now. Bringing the ball out is Uvial Author. That might be able to boot people away.
Hairball goes down early. I think he was trying to work the flanks. I did not see him in the bulk here. Bubble onto a Trower. He's going to move in on the Doomfist. Throws a nice punch down and immediately backs out. And now returning fire. Clarity steps in, doing such a good job of just tagging in and out. These 2 DPS. And then, of course, the front line tanks. You get too close, and they're just going to swing at you. There's the 5th point, Billy. That's the bench that I think Apollo needs to have been looking for. Everything from here is just bonus space.
And they've got ultimates to work with now. I think that a Clarity and a Trower will both get their ultimates. Should they be able to stay close enough and healed up enough into this next fight, Rugby laying down a Shatter could prove fatal, and maybe 6 points on the board.
Apollo looking invigorated here. I think they've got that trophy dangling on a stick at the front of this cart, and they are just chasing that trophy, chasing that carrot. Earth Shatter comes out from the defense. It is blocked. Sound barrier used from Apollo. A Troller goes down just as Meteor Strike comes on the line. Coalescence out, and the overtime wick's going to burn down. You can't step off that point, not for a second, or that overtime wick is gone.
But that's still a hell of a push from
Hell
Apollo.
of a push.
I mean, but the win condition set for Guardians to extend this to a 7th map. And if I remember how we go back to Control after this, if I'm correct, or do we go to Escort?
It will be Escort. Will be map 7. We did get it. Oh, it was Sleepy, one of our subs left.
Yes, one of the subs left.
But yes, Escort map 7. We'd go to Control for a map 8 if that tiebreaker was necessary.
Indeed. So I'm looking for the measured aggression from Guardians right now. Uvial and Hardline paving the way to let their DPS frag out in the extreme, and that's exactly what happened once they cracked the double shielding of Apollo on point 1. And man, I mean, Rugby and Guile are going to bring out their own Zarya and Reinhardt, and maybe The Blitzkrieg.
Yes, yes. Apollo showing us this very aggressive posturing, looking for what we like to call the Blitzkrieg defense. They're just going to wait for Guardians to walk by and then rush them. Try to catch them off guard. Might be difficult because this is a brawly comp Guardians is showing us here with the Reinhardt Zarya. Hairball on that Reaper could be a difficult target to rush down. Here we go. Guardians turning the corner. Oh, they catch him. They see him. Charge, counter charge from the Reinhardts. Rugby going to push out. It's going to win the duel against Hardline. Hairball does find that kill onto Guile. 5v5 on the objective. Every kill the offense gets here is huge because of that respawn advantage.
Indeed, and the bubbling from both Uviel and Guile is what's really going to keep this map going on. 20% difference between Uviel and Guile. And they're going to have to get a presence on this point, otherwise they're going to sacrifice this in less than a minute as well.
It was that lack of bubbles exactly that hurt Apollo. Guile getting picked out in that bold stance that they tried to take defensively. And in the end, it turned around to bite them. But they did, they ate nearly a minute off the clock.
Well, there's a contest too, and I mean, every second that they can take off is going to be into their favor. Hairball almost has the Death Blossom on Ryan already.
Yeah, compared to Clarity's 51%. Now, the other stat to look at, though, is look at Earth Shatter. Rugby, 90 to Shatter. Hardline, just now 60, and that was because of a fat fire strike he just launched. All right, hack onto Hairball. He gets taken out holding Death Blossom. Minute 10 on the clock. Guardians do answer back. Typical Space finding himself a kill. That's 4 here for Guardians, and they're going to continue their trek through Westworld.
I mean, you're going to have a Grav Death Blossom available and online in this next fight. Rugby's going to have to be very judicious with how he drops his Shatter. Lucky Dog may be able to keep him up through the animation and allow him to land it.
We'll see. We will see. Watching Lucky Dog on that Moira. See if they're going to drop that Coalescence early. Oh, no. They should have because Death Blossom came through and just ripped Apollo to pieces. Hairball with a mean 3K here with 25 seconds left on the clock. So far, the defense of Apollo absent in extra innings.
Yeah, but they might have, once again, another chance to recontest. And Clarity coming up on a Death Blossom of their own. And they're going to have to get not only through the gate, but around the first corner here. Lucky Dog throwing out the Coalescence. Sound Barrier also invested. Oh, they're going to try and take it here.
Oh, and a big 3-man Shatter from Rugby. 3 kills there. Kyle's got 2. The support's getting in there. EMP in the back to seal the deal. Clarity dropping the Death Blossom to finish out this grand finals in style. And Apollo have done it. They are your Tier 3 grand champions.
Oh my goodness, I thought that they were just going to go ahead and remarshal their resources on the inside of Point C, but no. EMP, Coalescence, and the Death Blossom to really close out the match in style. That is what you want to see from a grand final. My goodness, Apollo are your Tier 3 champions winning 4-2. My God, Bullskunk.
Oh, man, was that a fantastic match. So, I mean, there was like 10 ultimates. I believe it was either 9 or 10 ultimates online between the two teams there in that final fight. What an explosive finish to this amazing matchup. An early Earth Shatter from Hardline found 3 right in the doorway, but the support duo of Apollo throw it out that down barrier. Coalescence coming out right on time allows Rugby the reinforcements he needs to push out, break through that chokehold, throw down a massive 3-man Shatter of his own, turn the tide of that fight. Holy cow, what a finish.
I mean, going back to what I was saying before, Lucky Dog had 22,000 healing in that match.
Oh, man.
And Fear Moon O had like something like 36 sound barriers provided during the entire time. So the support combo of the Moira Lucio winning the day, winning the championship.
They heard you, Billy. They heard you, Billy. Oh, wow. Fantastic stuff. I think we're going to have to crown an MVP here of the grand finals, Billy. We're going to have to crown an MVP.
I did put you on the spot last night and making you crown the Tier 4 MVP. So I guess I'll come out with mine. Honestly, it's for the losing team, and it's Uviel Author. I think that he had the most standout performance amongst all the players for the entire night. I can't
Yeah.
see giving it to anybody else on my side.
I mean, Uviel definitely worthy of the crown there, of the MVP voting. I mean, I was inclined to go with the same role, but the other side. I was inclined to go with Guile. Always didn't matter whether Rugby or Jexy were in the match. Guile always showing up. Atroer put up a heck of a performance as well. So I'm kind of torn between those two from Apollo. Hats off to all 12 of our players, really, 20 of our players involved in tonight's series. But Atroer and Guile were the standouts to me. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Guile in the off-tank role for enabling the rest of his team to win this championship.
Indeed, and I mean, I echo that as well. I just think that Uviel just
Oh, I can't argue that. I can't
slightly
argue that at
outplayed.
all.
So I mean, both off tanks get the MVP nod from both of us. So, man, what a series! What a season!
What a season. I can't believe we're already done. It has been an amazing season. Thank you so much for being along with us in this wild ride. Billy, thank you so much for riding passenger seat with me through 98% of these matches we cast throughout the past 12 weeks. It's been a heck of a ride. It's been such a privilege to be a part of these broadcasts.
I mean, same to you, my friend. It has been a wild ride. We have grown so much. You've passed 1,000 followers at some point during the season. We
Yep.
celebrated that with you. Week 6 it was
Yep.
that you got your 1,000th follower. And I mean, the sky is the limit for both of us. But I really want to make sure that the community knows how much we truly do love them and how much their support means to us. It's just it keeps the wind in our sails, and it really inspires us to be better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a heck of a season. I mean, we've seen, as far as IRL stuff. I mean, we've seen just heartbreaking, tragic loss. We've seen new life brought into the world in this community. I mean, we've had engagements here. We've had people go off into service in the military and graduate. We've had high school graduations. We've got Rin getting married this week. Huge congrats there. It's been, I mean, there's just so much amazing stuff that's happened in this community in the past 12 weeks. And it's been an honor to be just a part of it all, to be close to it all. I mean, I've got a whole list of people I need to thank from this stream alone. I'll let you take a moment to get a voice in here before I start doing that, though.
Oh no, I mean it's just the orgs have been so nice and kind to us. The individual
Amazingly.
members of the community have been so welcoming, not only to you because this is your virgin season here, and now you have been thoroughly indoctrinated into the CGL.
Indeed.
Also have to mention this is the only double from I think from an org that got the double. I don't know what the Crazy 88's tier 2 match. I don't know how that ended up.
Let's see your tier. I've got it right here. In fact, I wanted to go ahead and give shout outs to everybody, to all of our victors across the board. So give me just a minute to find that. So your tier 1 champions, as Billy was alluding to, were Apollo. So they took not only the tier 3 crown, but the tier 1 crown on top of that. Your tier 4 champions, Crazy 88s. Tier 5 champions, Flying Gorillas, all in the North American scene. Tier 6, we had Vinny's team. Was not Gatekeepers, because Gatekeepers Airborne was the bronze. Yes, Los Mojados taking the tier 6 crown. We need to update on tier 2. Somebody's got to let us know what happened in that tier 2 finals. I must know. On the EU side, we had Mythical Monsters taking tier 2. We had Silhouette Tyrants, your victors in tier 3. Kaibade winning tier 4. And then earlier today, in tier 6, where are my notes? It was Free Takeaways taking the tier 6 crown there in the EU region.
I'm waiting for Ripping 88s right now to report to me who won in that.
while you're waiting on that, big congrats to all of our championship teams here in Season 7 of the multi-tier tournament. Some individual thank yous to go down here. We had the German dude coming out with 2 gifted subs. We have Vinny's the Savior coming out with a gifted sub as well. Thank you all so very much. Veritasium with 45 bits. Godspeed throwing in a handful of bits of his own. Looks about 10. Corvette coming through with 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much, my friends. Laughing Tag sharing a couple of bits. Swift with a 2-month Prime sub. Says, let's go, dude. Thank you, Swift. I really appreciate it. CGL with the big raid. Thank you very much for that. Destruction coming through with 500 bits. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate the support. We had Corone Doobie coming through with a Prime sub. Gino with the 25 gifted subs that we mentioned earlier. Just a massive support here on the stream. Gino, a big special thank you to you, my friend. For the past year, you have just shown overwhelming support for us here on this channel. And, massive source of encouragement for us here. Let's see what else we got. We have B-Bums coming through with a tier 1 sub for a 2nd month in a row, saying, "I," with a big heart. Which I have some compelling stories for you, B-Bums. Don't you worry. I hadn't forgot about you. Newfie Legit coming through with the Prime sub for 4 months. Fluffy McLeod's with a tier 1 sub for his 2nd month in a row. And then we had Gino with some bits earlier in the match. So thank you to everybody. We had nearly 50 followers come through from this broadcast, and a huge thank you to every single one of you. I can't express enough my appreciation for your support and encouragement throughout this entire 12-week tournament.
Indeed, and just a little bit for the Tier 3 people that were interested in knowing. Tier 3 MVP, as voted on Twitter, put out by Munching Carrot. The winners are in, and it looks like for Tank, it's Jewel Otaku from Tidal Esports, Nightshade OW from Daybreak Esports, PogChimp OW from Mythos, and Lucky Dog here on Apollo taking the MVP in the voting. So congratulations to all the Tier 3 MVPs as voted on by the community.
Absolutely. Huge. Good call, Billy. Good call indeed.
Oh, and 88s did get the double as well.
No way. Okay.
Yes, way.
So Ripid 88s, you're Tier 2 champions. You're in the NA Xbox division.
That's a new org, too. The 88s are a new org they formed in the off-season between Season 6 and Season 7, so that is huge.
Holy cow. Well, yeah, looking at a 4-0. On to burning questions. I have 3 burning questions.
No!
I have to ask you, Billy. It wouldn't be an appropriate cast. We couldn't close out this season right if I wasn't asking you good burning questions. Well, the first one's more of an anecdote, not so much an anecdote, just a slight happening that happened to me. Well, it really happened to my friend. Because he was sitting there reading some stories to his son, and his son asked, "Well, can I have a bookmark?" And the dad responds, my friend responds, 11 years in, and he doesn't know that my name is Brian. All right, that was my first one. He'll get it one day, Brian. He'll get it one day. All right. Second story for you here, Billy. And I came in, my girlfriend just walked into the room and said, "Bull, you haven't listened to one word I've said, have you?" And I just couldn't help but think, man, that's a strange way to start a conversation. All right. That one was for Ocean. That one was for Ocean out there. Oh. And speaking of, the one more, this one's kind of got B-Bums and Ocean's name all over it. Just wanted you to know, a slice of apple pie is $2.50 in Jamaica, $3 in the Bahamas. Well, that's just the pie rates of the Caribbean. All right, boom. Moans and groans done. Our broadcast finished up. Thank you so much, my friends. Y'all remember to look out for each other in, game, and out. It's been Bullskunk and Billy signing off here for the Xbox multi-tier tournament. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.
Bye, guys. Love all of y'all. Mwah!